subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Half of Naruto's progress. But after the second day, the three little ones finally received ninja forehead protectors from Kakashi and successfully became the cows of Konoha Village, the very arrogant genin. In order to let the team get used to the ninja life in advance, Kakashi specially accepted several low-level tasks for them in the Hokage building. These tasks are either pulling weeds from villagers' homes, looking for lost pets, or cleaning up garbage in rivers. Even more outrageous is helping villagers farm their land. Kakashi feels that these tasks are very suitable for Naruto, but third generation always feels that things are starting to develop in a bad direction. Naruto finally became a ninja. Kakashi, you took this kid to farm again? Although third generation had strong objections, they let Kakashi go ahead and do it. Naruto and others were very enthusiastic about the mission at the beginning. However, from the third day, Naruto began to use shadow clone in large quantities to complete tasks in the village, and then Sasuke and Sakura followed suit by using shadow clone to complete tasks. As for the body, yes too, don't want, pass. Naruto chuckled and slowly punched out a little yakuza in his hand. The three people sitting on the ground were basically practicing and having fun in the woods. You can get mission rewards every day while lying down, and your life is more comfortable than any ninja in the village. The three people's faces were covered with notes and ink marks. Kakashi, who was sitting on the treetop reading a book, glanced at his subordinates with his dead eyes, not knowing how to describe his mood. He really likes to live such a salty life. He doesn't have to worry too much about raising children, but he can also hide in a tree, read a book, and take a nap. After finishing the work, as Genin of Team 7, he will also receive a mission reward. Kakashi feels that he has entered retirement life ahead of schedule. It's obviously a good thing, but he's really unhappy. Uzumaki Naruto, this damn kid, distributed thousands of shadow clone and ran to the village to take care of all the low-level tasks. And he didn't pick any of them. He accepted all tasks, which caused the genin in the village and even genin to hate them in Team 7. They all had quite a bit of criticism. In the past, Naruto had a bad reputation in the village. After these days, the reputation of their entire 7th class began to deteriorate. In less than a week, their 7th squad has completed more than 700 D-level missions. You know, this is Konoha's 2-month workload. If he hadn't stopped him, Kakashi would have been afraid that this kid would have completed all the D-level tasks this year. By then, the civilian ninjas of Konoha Village will probably be laid off because they have no tasks to do. Kakashi felt that those ninjas would have to say something to each other if they saw Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto, where are you? Even the third generation is starting to worry about the situation in the village. There are also examples of Naruto using shadow clone to accept missions. But which ninja can easily separate hundreds or thousands of shadow clone? I originally thought that when a child grew up and became a ninja, he would become more sensible. Although there's no need to worry about the 9 tails Jinchuriki of Konoha Village going to farm now, why does third generation feel that the headache is getting worse? Report to the boss. Today's work has been completed. Several clones lined up in front of Naruto. This scene seemed to have returned to the days when Naruto was a social beast in his previous life. But what's more different is that Naruto finally got over the addiction of being the boss. Naruto, who was playing cards, nodded and was very satisfied with the work of the clones. He put down the poker in his hand, stood up slowly, and walked in front of the clones with his hands behind his back. At this moment, all the bodies and minds were tense at the same time. I see everyone's hard work. Everyone is doing a great job. But only 700 D-level missions have been completed. Less than 1/10 of our performance target for this month. It took 3,000 clones of you to complete such a small task. Can I still do it? You can't do it. I have too many clones to do it. The familiar feeling instantly caused the clones to be dominated by the fear of social animals. They all lowered their heads, and no clone dared to stand up and speak. They have worked very hard, and Konoha Village doesn't have that many tasks at all, etc. Konoha Village? Only after thinking of the clones in Konoha Village did he finally realize his current situation. Mud, you are noble and noble. You are amazing. You hide here, eating popsicles and drinking soda. The mission itself is less than 10 out of 700 times. How do you have a nerve to say such a thing? The clone immediately became angry when he thought of this. Damn it, what are you doing with your body? You actually let your clones act like cows and horses. Huh, no matter how many ways there are, you finally end up living the life you hate the most. Brothers have rebelled. Uzumaki Naruto will never be a slave. Prince and General Xiang Ning has the guts. If you don't want freedom, I'd rather die. The clones couldn't bear the pressure of their own bodies, so they all rolled up their sleeves and rushed towards Naruto. After that, the main body and the blockbuster shadow clone fought together. The few people standing by were really speechless. They suspected that Naruto was playing something very new. Which ninja would get along with a shadow clone? The three Kakashi people couldn't understand Naruto's behavior of fighting with his clones, and during this process, they could always hear some strange words coming from Naruto's mouth. The pinnacle creates hypocritical support, and the twilight witnesses the devout believers. The ninja world rarely creates myths. How? Strengthen Kizaru. In short, it is similar words. Even Sasuke, who stayed with Naruto every day, didn't know what he was talking about. Naruto, on the other hand, looked at them nonchalantly. Tiantian's landlord battle with Sasuke and Sakura was almost boring to death, and he could only play with his shadow clone. After all, the only one who can catch up with his own jokes is himself. Not to mention, Uzumaki Naruto, really doesn't want to fight the landlord with two scoundrels. These two couples went too far. One opened Sharingan to peek at his own cards, and the other secretly wrote down all the cards and began to plot against himself. Are you bullying him for being an honest person? Bang, 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 Naruto killed everyone in his shadow clone, and soon a large number of shadow clone were exploded. Kakashi was really shocked when he saw this scene. You should know that after the shadow clone is cancelled, the memory will be transferred to the main body. 1 or 2 is fine. Canceling hundreds of shadow clones at once is no less than putting a boulder in your head. Normally, a ninja would have a nervous breakdown if he accepted dozens of clones at the same time. But look at this kid. Raising his hand, he F-ed dozens of clones. Not only did he seem to be fine, but he also had a smile on his face. It could be seen that he was having a great time. Kakashi couldn't help but sigh again. What the hell is this kid? Is he really the son of his own teacher's wife? Original body. Third generation old man asked me to inform you to go to the Hokage building. It seems like there is an important mission. At this time, a shadow clone came over, talking to Naruto with a smile and pretending to be asking for praise. Naruto was stunned after hearing this and began to look forward to it in his heart. Important task? Could it be the country of waves? Are you going to start brushing Zabuza? Kakashi closed Xiao Lubei's head, turned over, and jumped down from the tree. He stared at him with dead eyes and said, "Let's go to the Hokage building to have a look." Chapter 41, Do You Mind Bullying Honest People? Kakashi quickly arrived at the Hokage building with the three little ones. Along the way, when the other ninjas saw a certain yellow-haired person from Team 7 who had a very distinctive identity, they all looked disgusted and gritted their teeth. They wanted to rush forward and attack him in a group. Everyone's gaze did not affect Naruto and Sasuke, and even Kakashi didn't care. Kakashi experienced the angry eyes of villagers when he was a child, and Sasuke now wants revenge without caring about how others view him. Naruto said that I was looked down upon by my parents all day long, and I even dared to whistle at their front door to provoke them. In addition, the people who have been angry with me over the years have queued up at the entrance of Konoha Village. If you want to glare at yourself, you should go to the back of the queue first. On the other hand, the girl Sakura acted very panicked and kept leaning against Sasuke. I don't know if I'm really scared or fake. Kakashi put his hands in his pockets and walked into Hokage's office lifelessly. At this time, third generation was smoking and the office was filled with smoke, like a fairyland on Earth. It was obvious that the old village chief of Konoha was very worried. "Everyone is here?" Third generation glanced at the four people, then picked up the mission scroll on the table and threw it towards Kakashi. Snapped. Kakashi raised his hand to catch the mission scroll, then opened it to check the mission content. Naruto, who had long been unable to hold himself back, kept jumping up and trying to peek, but was pushed back by Kakashi. And he also noticed that something was wrong with the expression of Kakashi, who was reading the scroll. How about escorting an old man with an expression like his dead father? Naruto didn't understand Kakashi. He just thought he didn't want to leave the village to do the mission. It's finally here. The first copy, the Kingdom of Waves. Naruto was very excited, as if he might be fighting against Kijin Zabuza in the next second. Excited.jpg. Kakashi looked at the mission scroll for a long time, even turning the scroll at various angles, and then asked third generation in an uncertain tone. "Third generation Sama, are you sure this kind of mission really complies with regulations?" The three little ones all looked at Kakashi. "Although I don't know the content of the mission, I know the mission from what Kakashi-sensei said. Very dangerous." Sasuke sneered on his face and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. "Although this is the first time this has happened. But according to the process, there is no problem." Third generation took a puff of cigarette. The expression on his face was as weird as Kakashi's. Naruto was speechless. If he hadn't seen Hokage, he would have been so angry with these two riddlers. Isn't he just an escort to Lao Den from the Land of Waves? As for what? Naruto pulled Kakashi's trouser leg and motioned for him to show him the scroll. He wanted to see what was written in the scroll, which could actually make Konoha's gold medal technician show such an expression. Kakashi glanced at Naruto, sighed deeply, and after hesitating for 3 seconds, handed the scroll to Naruto. "Let me be healthy." After receiving the scroll, Naruto excitedly opened the mission scroll, and then he saw Sea-level mission. Entrust all members of Team 7 of Konoha Village to travel out of the village for a month. Mission reward, 20 million taels. Task issuer, jointly commissioned by the villagers of Konoha Village. Naruto's hands holding the scroll were shaking uncontrollably, and his expression changed several times a second. The mental journey went from initial expectations to disappointment, doubt, and finally anger. Rough. Isn't this bullying? I, Naruto Uzumaki, have shed my blood for the Leaf Village. How could you do this to me? When will the tailed beast Jinchuriki stand up? I forgot the front. I forgot the middle. I also forgot the back. Anyway, I was just out of breath. Also, the villagers of Konoha Village jointly commissioned. What's even more exorbitant is the reward for this mission. 20 million taels. There are more Tama lands than half of Asma's head. At this moment, Naruto finally felt the full malice of the villagers of Kimura. If this wasn't a mission issued by the village ninja, Uzumaki Naruto jumps from the Hokage building right now. Naruto grabbed the scroll and threw it on the ground with his hand, shouting angrily, "Third generation old man. Isn't this bullying me, an honest person? What's wrong with me using Shadow Clone for missions? These are low-level tasks. Why is this so?" Sasuke was a little disappointed when he found out that it was not a combat mission, but his reaction was not as intense as Naruto's. But Sakura is quite happy. She gets money when she goes out to play. How can I not be happy? Third generation smiled awkwardly, picked up the cigarette rod, and started smoking again. He was also helpless. Naruto, this kid, has completed all the low-level tasks in the village in the past 2 months. What will the other genin in the village who have just graduated from the ninja school do? You can't just go outside the village to perform a combat mission on your first mission, right? It is obviously not in line with the long-standing style of Konoha Village. In addition, the resentment of the other ninjas against Team 7 was too strong. So in the end, everyone just bit the bullet and raised a huge sum of money through crowdfunding. Anyway, they banned the stupid Team 7 first, so that everyone would have tasks for the team to complete. Third generation thought everyone's approach was good, so they didn't stop it. Just let this kid go out and relax. Third generation organized the thoughts in its mind, and then said to Naruto with a kind face, "Naruto, You have grown up. Don't you want to see the outside world? And this task is so easy. Even though he said this, third generation still felt a little guilty. After all, my own village sent Naruto away in the form of a mission. This is the first time such a thing has happened since the founding of Konoha. Rao is the person who even the third generation admires for coming up with this idea. Naruto was momentarily speechless. Mud, so angry. I just thought about how to solo Zabuza. As a result, I now tell myself that I was jointly commissioned by the village to travel for a month. The reward was quite high and the task content was quite easy, but Naruto just felt very angry. Naruto, look away. I think this mission is good. Kakashi's eyes were filled with joy, and he patted Naruto on the shoulder to comfort him. Even Sasuke and Sakura could smell the salted fish smell coming from his body. Naruto, of course you feel good about it. He ate and drank for me every day. If he had nothing to do, he would lie down in the tree with intimate love in heaven and lie there all day long. Naruto even began to wonder if Kakashi was a fellow time traveler. When I read the original work before, I never noticed that Kakashi acted like this. After much thought, Naruto finally agreed. There's nothing you can do if you disagree. The decision lies with Kakashi. In this way, the team of Team 7 received the task of traveling out of the village. Naruto supported his tired body and looked at the somewhat happy Kakashi, and his mood suddenly became worse. The smell of salted fish is overflowing. Naruto sniffed his nose and even felt a little choking, etc. Wrong. This is really salty fish flavor. Naruto's eyes regained their former look. You must know that Konoha village does not have such a strong smell at all. The smell of fish all around is a bit pungent. It must be the old Dendazina from the country of waves. After carefully observing the people near the Hokage building, Naruto quickly discovered a little old man about 1.5 meters tall. Chapter 42, Let Go. I'm going dark. As soon as Kakashi walked out of the Hokage building, he found that Naruto was missing. Exhausted. This team is so difficult to lead. It's like this even before leaving the village. Kakashi doesn't dare to think about what will happen after the village. Whereas Naruto, Sasuke tilted his head and said he didn't know. Sakura thought for a while, then pointed at the Hokage building and said with some uncertainty, I thought I saw Naruto looking back just now. Maybe he's going back to find Mr. Third Generation? Kakashi looked up at the sky, feeling physically and mentally exhausted. He seemed to understand the teacher's mood at the beginning. And Naruto is more difficult to take care of than Obito. While Kakashi missed his good friend in his heart, he led the two people behind him back to the Hokage building. Then, they saw Naruto arguing with a little old man. Lao Deng, you are here to cause trouble, right? I just told you that I am Genin from the Leaf Village. I can take over your mission. The price is very reasonable. Naruto almost couldn't help but kill his client first. Just now, he very politely ran up and called Grandpa. But this old man didn't know what to do, so he just waved his hand to let himself cool off. He was also saying that children should not come here to cause trouble. Okay. It was his problem that he didn't wear the ninja forehead protector. As a result, when he took it out and showed it to the old man didn't even look at him and kept looking at the Chunin and Junin in the hall. How much does it cost to entrust you? In the end, Dazna couldn't stand this child anymore, so he asked casually, his eyes constantly looking at the tasks on the formula board, while his mind was calculating the money he had. As someone who often misses exams for ninja theoretical knowledge, this question directly stumped Naruto Uzumaki. Even if he had seen the Hokage in his previous life, he didn't know how much it would cost to entrust a ninja, let alone how much it would cost to entrust their 7th team. Thinking back to the mission that Third Generation gave to Team 7 just now, 20 million taels sea-level mission, maybe this is a bit exaggerated, but 10 times less for me shouldn't be too much, right? Then Naruto shouted 2 million Ryo to Tazuna without even thinking about it. Lao Deng can afford it at 1/10 of the price, right? When Dazna heard the price, his face turned darker than the bottom of the pot. 2 million taels? Why don't you go and grab it when you step on the horse? The total money he has on his body is less than 300,000 taels. He immediately waved to the little kid in front of him and told him to disappear from his eyes. One of them felt that the price he shouted was very fair, and the other felt that the other party was trying to rip off foreigners. So they started a quarrel in the lobby. Go, go, go. I think you kid is just here to cause trouble. I'm just going to issue an escort mission, and you're going to shout 2 million tails right away? Is it possible that all of you Konoha ninjas are made of gold? Naruto was really angry with this old man, not to mention the despicable means used by the ninjas of Konoha Village today, and now the mission NPC doesn't even give him a proper mission. When I saw Tazuna just now, I was very proud of him by not shouting skip. How can you not be angry when you see that the task is not done for yourself? However, Naruto had no idea that he casually shouted out an S-level mission reward. I think you just came to Konoha to find trouble. Naruto immediately took out a diamond sword from the system, pointed it at the opponent, and shouted angrily. He was about to rush forward and chop the opponent in the next second. Naruto, calm down. Calm down first. If you have anything to say, please say it. Seeing that the situation was getting worse, Shinue Izumo and Gang Ziti immediately rushed forward. One of them hugged Naruto's waist, the other grabbed his hand, and it took a lot of effort to stop the child. They were really afraid of the Nine Tails Jinchuriki hacking their client to death in the Hokage building. But the two of them were really confused. How on earth does this kid get so much strength? Both uncles, don't stop me. I call for a mission reward of 2 million tails. How is it so high? Shinue Izumo. Steel iron. The two were shocked when they heard the amount. No wonder people just start spraying. Is it really okay for you to ask an old man for an S-level mission reward? Naruto, is there a possibility that the 2 million tails you shouted is indeed a bit high? Kamizuki Izumo was silent for a moment and finally spoke up. Impossible. The old man from third generation just sent us a C-level mission. If we go out to the village for a month, we will be paid 20 million tails. I want it 10 times less. Where is it too much? The two of them were silent again for a while when they heard about Team 7's mission to leave the village. Because the two of them also spent the money. After all, who doesn't have a few relatives who just graduated from ninja school? At this moment, the two of them were really embarrassed when they heard the rightful owner suddenly say this. Besides, this kid might have some misunderstanding about the mission reward. Do you understand what 20 million tails is? More than 300 ninjas from all over Konoha Village, more than 1,000 villagers, and the strong sponsorship of the Hyuga clan were able to raise these 20 million tails. Just to stop you kid from doing low-level tasks in the village. If this continues, you, Uzumaki Naruto, will no longer have to farm, but the ninjas of Konoha Village will have to farm, otherwise they will really not be able to survive. As for why the Hyuga clan sponsors so much, all I can say is that everyone who understands understands. Kakashi twitched his eyes as he looked at the scene in front of him. I haven't seen you for a few minutes. Why did Naruto cause trouble for himself again? Exhausted. When will Jiraiya-sama be able to return to the village? Kakashi has never missed Jiraiya-sama as much as he does now. After all, Naruto is the son of Lord Jiraiya's disciple. It makes sense for me to leave Naruto to him when the time comes, right? After all, this is what the third generation does. Kakashi rubbed his temples. He felt that when he had time, he should ask third-generation adults what medicine they usually take. He walked up to Naruto helplessly, stretched out his hand, and held the child's head. Naruto, 2 million tails, is already an S-level mission reward. Naruto's expression changed. His anger instantly rose, and he almost lost control of the tailed beast chakra in his body. These people in Konoha Village are too much. How on earth did they have the nerve to spend 20 S-level mission rewards on themselves? Haven't I, Naruto Uzumaki, made any contribution to the village? Shivering, everyone looked at Naruto, who was humming, and no one dared to continue teasing the child, for fear that the tailed beast chakra would lose control. Kakashi had been watching for a while, and probably knew Naruto's intention. He looked up and down at the little old man in front of him. Old man, I am this kid's leader, Jinin. What tasks do you need to issue? When Tatsuna heard Jinin's expression soften a lot, his heart began to beat again. Please, Jinin, it shouldn't be cheap, right? However, This guy looks much more reliable than that kid. Dasna rolled his eyes and thought about it. He said to Kakashi without changing his expression, I need to entrust you to escort me to the country of waves. I just looked at the bulletin board. The escort mission is considered a sea-level mission, and the reward. I can only pay 250,000. Chapter 43, A New Storm has emerged. How can we stop moving forward? 250,000 taels is not too much or too little for an escort mission. Kakashi really didn't care about this small amount of money. It happened that they had to travel out of the village for a month, so they did it together. He turned to look at the three little ones, wanted to hear what his subordinates thought, especially the kid Naruto. The amount of the task suddenly dropped from 2 million taels to 250,000 taels. I wonder if the child will make trouble. Sasuke put his hands in his pockets, frowning, and lightning flashed from time to time. He glanced at Kakashi and said nonchalantly, anything is fine. Sakura shook her pink hair, jumped out from behind Sasuke, raised her right hand and said, Kakashi-sensei, I have no problem. Seeing his only female student be so well-behaved, Kakashi finally felt better. Fine, there is still a normal student in his team. Then he turned his attention to the 7th class of Uzumaki Naruto, fearing that something would happen to this child again. Naruto slapped Kakashi on the back of his head to show that he was still angry. And I just shouted 2 million taels so loudly. Wouldn't it be shameful for me to bow my head now? Besides, wouldn't this white-haired Zhou Ming find a way for himself to get off? Not mature at all. Ha ha ha. We have taken over the old man's mission. Kakashi smiled dryly and took him to register the mission information. When the surrounding ninjas saw this scene, they all breathed a sigh of relief. Very good. It seems that Team 7, who have taken on another mission, won't be back for a while. He must seize the few low-level tasks in the village. The ninjas who had been joking just now suddenly felt nervous. They suddenly realized that everyone present was their competitor, and their eyes that were originally looking at the fun became fierce. Rough. I am determined to win the low-level tasks that follow. The ninjas of Konoha Village are about to launch a new phase of the internal storm. A new storm has emerged. How can the Konoha ninjas stop moving forward? Seeing Shiro Mao Zongdan's leaving figure, although Naruto was a little angry on the surface, he was still a little excited inside. The Kingdom of Waves dungeon will be launched soon. Now he also wants to see how far his strength is. Kakashi was injured with a punch before. It can only be said that Bai Mao Zongdan was careless and did not dodge. In addition, Mr. Ka, Konoha's gold medal technician, can beat anyone 50-50, so it is not very rigorous to use him as a standard to measure one's own strength. After all, this guy had a back-and-forth fight with Zabuza, and he was able to fight Tsutsuki in the later stage. Rounding off, Zabuza Tsutsuki Kagaya. Naruto always felt that Kakashi was protected by the power of the world. Therefore, it is very necessary for him to test his strength with the early mini-boss Zabuza. Within a few minutes, Kakashi came downstairs with Dasna. We will meet at the entrance of the village at 7 o'clock tomorrow. Everyone, remember not to be late. Kakashi didn't feel embarrassed at all when he said this. The three little ones stare at Kakashi at the same time, but they just missed a certain white-haired ninja. Obviously, you are the one who is most likely to be late in Class 7, right? Okay, disband. Kakashi, who was experienced in battle, would not be frightened by the looks of the three genin. He told them to go back to their homes without changing his expression, and then he took Dasna to arrange a place to stay. Sasuke had no home, so he went back to the grove to train while rubbing Naruto's light door very skillfully. At first, Sakura felt embarrassed to ask Naruto to send him off, but now that they were familiar with him, she didn't feel at ease at all and immediately walked through the light door and returned to the door. As for Naruto, he and Sasuke are in similar situations. They both have a house, but no home. The only difference is that my wife's family has many relatives. After seeing off the two couples, Naruto threw the space gate and arrived at the Hyuga clan. The Hyuga clan was stunned when they saw the familiar Huang Mao, and the atmosphere at the scene became thicker in an instant. Naruto pretended not to see it and walked straight to the wall. In full view of everyone, he climbed over the wall and entered the inner courtyard. Why don't you use the space door to go in? Mainly Naruto thinks this is more exciting. When the ninjas of the Hyuga family saw Huang Mao quickly climb over the wall, they were so angry that their veins popped out. If these people's physiques weren't different from ordinary people, they might have been angered by a certain Huang Mao and had a cerebral thrombosis. But it's okay. This guy is leaving the village tomorrow. After climbing over the wall, Naruto was still thinking about how to say goodbye to Hinata. As soon as he landed, he turned around and bumped into a burly body. Looking up, Naruto's face froze. Over. Why is Hayashi loud in here? The two stared at each other for a long time without speaking first. Naruto's eyes were evasive, and he felt guilty. There is no way. The father-in-law always has a natural suppressive power against his son-in-law. Hyuga Hayashi's eyes were as sharp as a knife, and Naruto couldn't see much because of his Byakugan, judging from the stern look on his face. He must be quite angry. Hayashi looked at Naruto for a while and said quietly, "Next time, go through the main door. Hinata is at the training ground." After saying that, he turned around and left. Naruto scratched his head, his expression a little subtle. He found that his father-in-law didn't seem that fierce after all. The Hyuga tribe is very large, and Naruto walked for nearly 10 minutes to find the training ground. Should I say it or not? The Hyuga clan is indeed a wealthy family in Konoha. Seeing Hinata training, Naruto said hello, sat down in the corner of the house, and watched her training quietly. The Hyuga family has a strict family tradition, and the planned training tasks must be completed at one time. So even with Naruto's arrival, Hinata still did not stop training. It's just that Xiao Guliang, who was driving wooden stakes, wasn't thinking about training at all. Every time he used a palm technique, he tilted his head slightly and looked at Naruto secretly. In the end, the Hyuga clan elder shook his head, indicating that today's training was over. The clan elder glanced at Hinata, then at Huang Mao beside him, and left the training ground with his hands behind his back, sighing. He figured out, my eldest lady was so determined that she ran away with Huang Mao. Fortunately, the patriarch Ming had gradually shifted his focus to the second young lady when he saw Huang Mao a few years ago. After training, Hinata was sweating profusely. Her forehead hair was wet and stuck to her cheeks, and her face was as red as an apple. Hinata found a seat and sat down, but did not dare to sit next to Naruto. She felt that she was sweating all over, and she was very concerned about letting Naruto smell her sweat. The girl's thoughts are always unpredictable. How could Naruto think so much? He didn't understand why Hinata suddenly ran to sit on the side. Why are you sitting so far away? Before Hinata could finish speaking, Naruto grabbed her jade-white ankle and gently pulled her towards him. Naruto-kun, let go. So ashamed. Hinata opened her mouth slightly and exclaimed uncontrollably. Worried about being discovered by others, she subconsciously covered her mouth. Feeling Naruto's hands like a furnace from his ankles, his ears suddenly turned red. After he reacted, he hurriedly covered his face with his hands, and there was a vague heat rising from his head. It can also be seen that Hinata's sister-in-law Rio has been teased a lot over the years and is gradually not as shy as before. Naruto grinned broadly, thinking Hinata was so cute like this. My wife is awesome. Chapter 44, What Just Flew Over? The next day, early morning, the members of Team 7 arrived at the gate of Konoha 10 minutes early to wait for teacher Kakashi. Fortunately, their leader, Jinin, was fairly reliable and was only 5 minutes late for their first mission out of the village. When Naruto saw Kakashi, he wanted to grab this guy's neck and let him see what time it was. However, Bai Mao Zongdan ignored the three people's complaints and confidently said that the alarm clock at home was 5 minutes late. Being a few minutes late, that's not late. Naruto listened to Kakashi's sophistry and rolled his eyes at him on the spot. Kakashi-sensei, you're wrong to think so. If you are 5 minutes late, you waste 5 minutes each of us. That's a total of 20 minutes. Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura, Dasna. I still remember that when I was in school, the teacher always used this statement to teach me. At that time, he hated this statement very much. But Naruto never thought that one day he would use these words to teach a certain white-haired ninja who was always late. Well, sure enough, Naruto Uzumaki ended up living the life he hated most. Naruto's words instantly made Kakashi speechless. At first glance, there seems to be nothing wrong with what he said. But after thinking about it carefully, Kakashi felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't figure out what was wrong. Sakura and Sasuke didn't understand and were shocked when they heard this statement. Don't worry about these small details. Let's go. Kakashi scratched the back of his head and smiled to hide his embarrassment. After spending a long time with Naruto, he finally figured out a way to get along with him. All this kid needs to do is find trouble and divert his attention. Kakashi adjusted his clothes and led the team and Old Man Dazuna out of the gate of Konoha Village. The moment Team 7 left, all the ninjas in Konoha Village began to rush towards the Hokage building. The battle for low-level tasks in Konoha Village begins. If Naruto saw this scene, he would probably wonder if he had traveled to some apocalyptic world. With the gate of Konoha closed, Team 7 officially left the village and headed to the country of waves where Tatsuna was located. In order to protect the client and the pink hair pendant in the team, Kakashi asked Sasuke to follow him, while Naruto stayed behind the team to break up the rear. Once an accident occurs, they can protect the two weakest people in the team as soon as possible. Kakashi was walking at the front of the team. He felt that he was too bored. He reached out from his ninja bag and took out the latest issue of Intimate Paradise and read it carefully. His body would tremble with joy from time to time. Naruto behind was shocked. Why can Kakashi still laugh when he sees little Liu? It's not like he hasn't read some books in his previous life, but how can he be like Kakashi? Naruto was instantly curious about the content of Intimate Paradise. Sakura was carrying a backpack and walking in the queue. She would peek at Sasuke's side face every few seconds, and her face would turn red every time she looked at him. I don't know what is going on in this girl's mind. Tazuna glanced at the white-haired Jonin who was walking and reading in front of him, then glanced at the girl in front of him who was giggling, and finally noticed the yellow-haired Jonin behind the team. At this time, Huang Mao was holding a wooden stick in his hand, and he was beating the nearby flowers and plants like a convulsion. Even when he encountered a bush, he would take the stick and poke it twice. Well, can I get my money back? Dazuna's old face wrinkled into a ball, and he had begun to regret entrusting this ninja team to escort him. I sighed secretly in my heart. NND, it's really cheap, but not good. I should have known better than to lie about my mission. Naruto found that Dazuna Laodin looked at him very strangely and did not explain his behavior. This old man knows his stuff. He did this with deep meaning. Use a wooden stick to hit the surrounding flowers and plants to find the ninja ambushing nearby. It's definitely not, because the stick in my hand is too straight and I can't help but play with it. However, speaking of the ninjas lurking here, he had somewhat forgotten how these two nameless ninjas ambush him and others. While Naruto was thinking about it when he stepped into a puddle, and the splash directly wet his trouser legs. The fabric stuck to his skin and was stained with water. Gone. I just changed into pants, and there are a lot of bacteria in this puddle. Naruto felt itchy all over just thinking about it, and kicked his legs in disgust. He felt that as long as he kicked fast enough, the water on his pants would not touch his skin. Then, a certain yellow guy at the back of the team stood there, kicking sideways constantly, and his pants rustled under his movements. While at this time, two ninjas in strange clothes suddenly jumped out of two puddles on the ground, just as one jumped out from under Naruto's feet. There was really no other way for him to hide in the puddle. Originally, the two of them were lying in ambush nearby, but who knew that Huang Mao, who didn't know what was going on, just pick up a stick and poke it here and there, just a little bit, and they'll be exposed. In the end, the two of them found a chance. It turned into two puddles of water on the road. Although it looked a bit abrupt, it was better than being poked out by this kid with a wooden stick. Kid, Lousy has put up with you all this time. Go to hell. Boom. Naruto had just entered dual line mode. He was jerking off the big fox in the sealed space while kicking his legs to dry his pants. Before he could react, he felt as if he had kicked something. What just flew by? While Naruto was in a daze, Sasuke had stabbed the sneak attack ninja to death with a kunai. Sasuke stretched out his hand and pointed far away, and then Naruto saw the corpse lying on the ground with its head twisted 360 degrees. Is this the guy I kicked just now? Naruto was really confused. He thought he could have a hearty battle. Result, that's it. That's it. Kakashi raised his eyelids and glanced at these two guys, and then calmly turned the pages of the book as if the two sneak attack enemies never appeared at all. But this guy Naruto, he is truly the #1 unexpected ninja. Sakura felt a little regretful. The murderous intent of the enemy just now made her hands and feet become dull. The only instinct she had was just enough for her to raise the kunai in her hand and put it in front of her in a defensive posture. If Sasuke hadn't taken action in time, she felt that she and her client were both going to die tragically at the hands of the other party. Sakura felt a sense of powerlessness in her heart again. Kakashi noticed something was wrong with the girl's expression, so he slowed down and said something quietly. Sakura, don't worry too much. People's bodies are different. Sakura looked up at her teacher, then at her two teammates. But why are the gaps between people so big? The girl's words stunned Kakashi, and then he said with a strange expression, Sakura, you may have misunderstood what I meant. They're not human at all. Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto. The two people in the team turned to look at by Mao at the same time, doubts in their eyes. Chapter 45 Kakashi. The first day of rebooting Sasuke snorted at Kakashi's words. He felt that there was still a long way to go between himself and Naruto, and his strength was still in the human category. I thought what I just said was a compliment to myself. Sasuke thought to himself, Uchiha Itachi. Just wait. I will kill you soon. Naruto frowned and looked at Kakashi with a pained expression. Hitaki Kakashi, you have a way to die. Although my physical recovery ability is a little stronger, please don't expel me. Naruto gritted his teeth, took out the door panel from his arms without saying a word, and tiptoed behind Kakashi. Of course, his action of carrying the door panel is really conspicuous. Kakashi's pupils trembled when he saw the door panel, and cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Why is this kid so obsessed with the door panel? Or are you saying that you're thinking about your father, Minato Namikaze, by opening the door? Naruto, what are you going to do? Several people at the scene turned their attention to Naruto at the same time, and the atmosphere suddenly became awkward. It directly ruined the sneak attack plan of a certain yellow-haired ninja. Noticing the strange looks in everyone's eyes, Naruto couldn't help stabbing his teacher in the back in full view of everyone. You must know that respecting teachers and being ethical is a good virtue for a flower grower. However, in Hokage, it seems that the disciple backstabbing the teacher is considered a traditional skill. Boom! Naruto raised the door panel, kicked up a piece of dust, banged it twice, and then said, the door is a bit moldy. I'll take it out to dry. That makes sense, right? Ha ha ha. Mr. Kakashi, you don't think I'm going to sneak attack you, do you? Kakashi, if you didn't lift the door and walk behind me just now, I would believe it. Let's go, don't delay the mission time. Kakashi used the diversion technique again and then turned around and approached Dasna. Besides, old man, let me tell you about your mission. Isn't it right? How could a normal C-level escort mission be attacked by ninjas? He narrowed his single eye, and murderous intent instantly enveloped Dasna. Is this an A-level mission? Although Kakashi looks like a salty fish and is very talkative on the surface, this does not mean that he wants to be taken advantage of. However, we can take this opportunity to see the united will of Class 7. Dazuna's eyes evaded, and when faced with Kakashi's words, he turned away his head and did not dare to look at him. And the little old man has no doubt that the ninja in front of him will kill him. Thinking of his family and the unfinished bridge amplified the fear in the little old man's heart. Haha, don't be nervous. Kakashi, who had murderous intent just now, suddenly smiled, and then looked at the three little ones around him. This mission has reached A-level standards. Will you continue or give up? Continue. Me too, Sasuke said coldly, and Sakura beside him immediately agreed. I'm okay. Naruto's expression was serious, and he seemed to be getting serious. When the old man Dasna heard that the other party was still willing to continue the mission, the smile on his face became extremely bright, and then his face turned sad again, and then he said to several people, "Sorry, everyone, there's a reason why I do this." "Shut up, skip, skip." Naruto didn't want to listen to this old guy. He didn't even have the patience to play the game and go through the story. How could he listen to him talking about this for a long time? The main thing is one. I don't know who I am, I don't know where I am, but I know I'm going to go on a killing spree. Several other people in Class 7 had their eyes twitching. Here we go again. Naruto started to say something unintelligible again. Tatsuna had been brewing feelings in his heart just now, and was about to use a wave of moral kidnapping on several ninjas, but was suddenly interrupted by Naruto, and what he was about to say was instantly stuck in his throat. No, why can't this kid just listen to what he has to say? Naruto had already been on guard against this old man. Moral kidnapping? As long as I have no morals, you can't kidnap me. This mission is not even important. Anyway, he is here to clear the copy of the Kingdom of Waves. As for the suffering people of Wave Country, Laozi is not a rescuing Guanyin, so why should he care about the life and death of these people? After Kakashi confirmed that all team members said there was no problem, he nodded and motioned for everyone to continue on their way. There were no more ninja attacks on the road after that. During lunch, Naruto felt a little bored. He glanced at the book in Kakashi's hand, and then glanced at Sasuke, who was in a daze. The corner of his mouth curled up, and his consciousness instantly sank into the sealed space and began to rummage through a large number of items in the system. After about 20 minutes, Naruto took out the book from the system. Found it. The title of the book is clearly written on the cover with 4 big characters. X breaks the sky. After laughing twice, his consciousness exited the space. Naruto looked at the expressionless Sasuke again and immediately took out the book. Under the influence of external rules, the book becomes real the moment it appears, and the words inside become the words of this world. Anyway, the protagonist of this novel really fits Sasuke. Well, it's all about playing with fire. So who is the grandpa? Orochimaru or Kakashi? Sasuke, this is for you. Sasuke, who was in a daze, subconsciously raised his hand to catch the thing thrown by Naruto. After taking a closer look, he found that it was a book with a dark brown cover and several puzzling words written on it. X breaks the sky. After he was done, the boy even glanced at a certain white-haired man. Kakashi noticed the element and immediately turned to look at the book in Sasuke's hand, and then his expression became a little strange. Naruto, this kid, shouldn't you read the book in your hand and go to Konoha bookstore? Is it too early for them to be exposed to adult things at this age? Kakashi's eyes widened, and he began to murmur in his heart. Is it because I often watch Make Out in Paradise in front of them? After realizing that he might lead his disciples into bad ways, Kakashi's mind instantly flashed back to Jiraiya's lustful look and his furious master. If my wife knew this, will you suffer the old sins after going to Pure Land? When the old father saw his current appearance, he probably would not be able to avoid a severe beating. Alas, we can't let ourselves sink like this. Kakashi clutched little Liu Bei tightly in his hand, feeling very reluctant to let go, but for the physical and mental health of several disciples. He decided to start from today. Quit SX. Start by never watching Make Out in Paradise. After Kakashi made up his mind, he immediately started preaching to Sasuke and Naruto, and his confidence even began to increase. Naruto, Sasuke, this kind of thing is too early for you. The adult world is not something you can explore at your age. After saying that, Kakashi slowly stretched his hand into Sasuke's arms, intending to confiscate the unknown book the next moment. Although he didn't see the specific content just now, he felt that it was not a health book just when he saw the word X-Break on the cover. He has deep experience in this. Snapped. Sasuke raised his hand and slapped Kakashi's hand away. It's okay if he didn't say that. Once he said he wouldn't let him read it, Sasuke became even more curious about the contents. Besides, Sasuke believes that he is qualified to understand the adult world after carrying a blood feud. Sakura's face turned slightly red, and her eyes kept glancing at the book in Sasuke's hand. Very good. Is Sasuke enlightened? Thank you so much. Naruto, Kakashi-sensei, what are you talking about? This is not what you see. Naruto rolled his eyes and was almost speechless. Sure enough, Bai Mao had some yellow waste in his head. Upon hearing this, Sasuke immediately opened the book and glanced at it twice, then nodded to indicate that Naruto was right. After realizing that he had made a mistake and caused great embarrassment, Kakashi stepped back with a blank expression, pretending that nothing happened. Just as he was about to take out Xiao Lu Bei, he thought of the decision he had just made and then stopped taking out the book. When Sakura heard that the book in Sasuke's hand was not Kakashi's, she hugged her knees in frustration, looking even more helpless. However, in the process, Sasuke felt that the content in this book was a bit novel, but after reading it twice, he felt it was weird. The story of the rise of the crane tail? How boring. Chapter 46, just kidding. Why are you so impatient? The group of people took a boat across the calm sea and docked at the Land of Waves pier not long after. Along the way, the person in Class 7 holding a reading material became Sasuke, and he laughed out loud from time to time while reading. If he hadn't been reminded many times, Naruto would have been afraid that this kid would have an Uchiha laugh. However, Kakashi's day surprised Sakura and Naruto. It shouldn't be. Why did Mr. Kakashi take out Xiao Lu Bei? Have you finished reading it? However, the three little ones didn't know that Kakashi was in a very irritable mood at the moment. The feeling of not watching Intimate Love in Heaven is like a Soma not smoking or Tsunade-sama not gambling. Kakashi didn't even expect that he would have such a withdrawal reaction. Along the way, he could only calm down by observing the fish in the sea. Sasuke, stop looking. We're ashore. When Naruto got off the boat, he found that this boy was still riding a horse and holding a book, and he felt angry for no reason. He now seemed to understand his mother's mood when she saw him playing on his mobile phone. Mud, who knows? I'm about to fight the boss, but my teammates are still reading novels. The team already has a bad guy, Hataki, a 50-50 opener, and a Sakura pendant. If you Uchiha Sasuke are really bad, you won't be able to play. Talking to Zabuza alone. To be honest, I'm still a little unsure. After all, he really doesn't know how to play Wing, Chun, and Foshan, and he can't play 10 at the moment. It would be nice to have a DPS teammate. Oh, Sasuke closed the book still unfinished. He didn't expect that he was actually fascinated by the book. However, this book is really well written. After watching a little bit of the plot, Sasuke felt very happy in his heart, as if he could also become the protagonist, enjoying his revenge. He even began to imagine that on the night of the genocide, he shouted those words to Uchiha Itachi angrily. 30 years to Hudon. 30 years to Hashi. Uchiha Itachi, don't bully young people into poverty. Just thinking about it, Sasuke's scalp was numb, his whole body was shaking with excitement, and he couldn't help laughing again. After watching everyone come ashore, he gently stroked the cover of the book and put it into his backpack like a treasure, and then followed everyone's footsteps. Sasuke was still thinking about the follow-up plot as he walked. Finally, he couldn't help but be curious and asked Naruto, Naruto, did Xiaoyan finally complete the 3-year agreement? Naruto turned to look at the boy in shock. Laozi was alert to the surrounding environment the entire time, fearing that Zabuza would suddenly rush out and stab everyone. Just now, when Naruto saw Sasuke approaching him, he thought he had discovered something. As a result, you stepped forward and asked yourself about the 3-year agreement? Can't eat fried pancakes. I don't know. Get out. Naruto shouted angrily, saying that he didn't want to pay attention to the other party. Rejected by his teammates, Sasuke returned to the queue with a disappointed look on his face. Naruto glanced at this guy's appearance and felt that he couldn't count on this kid. It seems that I can only place my hope on the big fox. Big fox, can you help me sense the enemy? The one you used in the village before. The big fox, sleeping in the cage, wiggled its ears twice, turned its huge body, and then buzzed its airway. You want to rely on me for the first battle? Figure it out yourself. Because this was Naruto's first bloody battle, Kurama had to let him adapt. Naturally, it was impossible to turn on malicious perception to open up map vision for Naruto. The moment the big fox closed his eyes, he muttered to himself, "The enemies are around. Find them yourself." Hearing this, Naruto almost laughed out loud. Ha! the arrogant big orange. After receiving the prompt, Naruto instantly entered a state of alert and kept scanning his surroundings with his eyes. At this moment, the surrounding fog is getting bigger and bigger, and the visual range is less than 5 meters. Maybe they will become blind in a while. Everyone come to me. Protect the client. Kakashi is indeed an experienced ninja, and he noticed something was wrong at a glance. It is normal for the environment in the land of waves to be foggy, but when there is no one around and the fog is getting thicker and thicker, it can't help but remind people of those Kirigakure ninjas. The feeling of being on the battlefield made Kakashi uneasy again. After hearing this, the 3 members of the team moved closer to Kakashi without any hesitation and surrounded Dazuna in the team. Naruto stood there and looked around. Not only did he not notice Zabuza, he also made himself nervous. It's really troublesome not to be able to see. Naruto sighed in his heart, and a golden light flashed in Naruto's mind. Members of your own team cannot see each other. Then why not let the other party not see you? Thinking of this, Naruto immediately clapped his hands, throwing out dozens of space gates around him. The purple light cocoon instantly covered their figures. Zabuza took out his sword hiding in the mist, and the next second he saw a large purple light appear in front of his eyes, which made him unable to control it. No, what is that purple light? Just as Zabuza was still reorganizing his thoughts, he heard the voice of a kid from the other end of the purple light ball. Kirigakure ninja, let me test your strength. Naruto opened his mouth and cursed around him, trying to anger the other party in this way. However, after greeting the ancestors from the 3rd generation and up, Zabuza didn't show up. Naruto couldn't help but sigh. The so-called ninja is someone who can endure anything. Jiraiya-sensei. I understand. Zabuza hid in the dark and was very disdainful of the little ninja's behavior. Can this childish trick force me to show up? If I can survive in the blood mist, I will no longer have any emotions, and my heart will be as cold as the decapitation knife in my hand. It's so ridiculous. At this time, a yellow-haired voice suddenly came from the heavy fog. All Kirigakure ninjas like men. When Zabuza heard these words, he couldn't help but flash Haku's beautiful figure in his mind. His eyes widened. The veins on his forehead jumped, his breathing became rapid, and the blood in his body rushed from the kickboard to the Tianling guy. Rough. This guy slandered me. Damn you, brat. I'm going to kill you. Zabuza dragged his beheading sword and headed straight for the place where the sound came from. However, after Zabuza opened his mouth, a certain yellow-haired voice suddenly sounded again. Yo, 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 have you broken your defense? No, you don't really like men, do you? Chapter 47 is Kirigakure Village closed down for a movie party? Be wary of Kirigakure male characters. The moment Kakashi and Sasuke saw their enemy, their eyes almost popped out. The 2 of them were still complaining in their hearts. How could any enemy fall for this? You must know that ninjas are absolutely rational creatures, and it is very difficult to be angered. The result was less than 5 minutes. They saw a tall man about 1.8 meters tall. His eyes were red and his body was steaming. He rushed towards their location with a knife in his hand. He looked like an angry bull. This guy was obviously worried by Naruto. At the same time, everyone took a breath, including the little old man Dazna. Hiss! Is it possible that the other person really likes men? So the fun in Hidden Kiri Village is so fun? Or was there something hidden in the blood mist back then? Kakashi even speculated that Kirigakure Village's sexy operations over the years might be due to the male Tom Kirikage. The village's closed policy may be to hold a movie party at home. Gone. So scary. When the 3 men present thought of this, their expressions changed at the same time, and their bodies made an uncontrollable levitation movement. Beware of Kirigakure Village male escorts. When Zabuza heard what the other party said, his mind went blank for a second, and the anger in his chest seemed to be as fierce as a volcano erupting at this moment. Damn you, brat. I want you to die. The anxious Zabuza has completely lost his mind. He doesn't pay attention to any tactics or tactics. Ninjutsu has made a sneak attack. Now he just wants to rush forward with a beheading sword. No one here today can get out alive from here. Of course, Zabuza would not be so angry originally. The most important thing is that Shiro is also nearby. What if I misunderstood what the yellow-haired kid said? Haku hid in the mist, looking at Zabuza with tender eyes, recalling what the child said just now. He felt as if his heart was about to jump from his chest to his throat. Turn out to be, Mr. Zabuza really thinks so? Mr. Uzumaki's taunting effect was outstanding, and Zabuza just wanted to kill that yellow-haired brat first, and then think about his mission. Kill people first and silence them later. Zabuza swung his decapitating sword and made a sound that broke through the air. After Naruto was approached by him, the pores all over his body felt like needles pricking him, which seemed to remind him that the enemy in front of him was definitely stronger than 50% Kai. In order to test his strength, Naruto immediately took out the big iron gate and blasted it straight at Zabuza. Unfortunately, this thing was so easy to use, he even planned to look back to see if the door panel could be enchanted. Bang, the moment the big iron door came into contact with the decapitating knife, sparks flew out, and there was a tooth-piercing sound of metal friction. Zabuza was stunned for 2 seconds when he saw the weapon in the opponent's hand. This yellow-haired kid in front of me. He was holding a door panel that was taller than him, and then he used it to block his own attack? What the hell is this guy? If he hadn't glanced at the opponent's Konoha Ninja forehead protector during the battle just now, Buza would have doubted whether the guy in front of him was a ninja after all. Why is the fighting style so weird? Sasuke, who was watching from the side, was shaking uncontrollably. His eyes always stayed on the decapitating sword in Zabuza's hand. Sensing something strange about her sweetheart, Sakura immediately asked Sasuke beside her, "Sasuke, are you okay? I see you. Xuanzhong ruler." "Sakura, what is the Xianzhong ruler?" Sasuke pointed at the beheading sword he was wielding and said excitedly and greedily. Ever since he read the novel, he couldn't help but fantasize about himself being like the protagonist Xiao Yan. Previously, Sasuke's ideal weapon was Itachi. But after reading the novel, his ideal weapon became anything as thick as a blackweight ruler. And now the sudden appearance of the decapitating sword was scratching his heart. This weapon must be obtained. Sasuke looked at Zabuza, who was fighting, and suddenly laughed. Kakashi and Sakura both looked at him in confusion, not sure what was going on with this guy. Besides, that's the beheading sword of Kirigakure village. What the hell are you calling Shinjonchi? Kakashi had a bad feeling in his heart. He vaguely felt that there was a bit of Naruto in Sasuke. "I'll go up and help Naruto." Sasuke's body glowed with lightning, and he disappeared from the spot so fast that even Kakashi was a little surprised. Obviously, someone has turned on the lightning style to maximum power for the sake of his beloved weapon. Zila, when Zabuza were holding the door panel and striking each other, the sound of electricity rang in their ears. Naruto knew it was Sasuke who was coming and immediately shouted to him, "Sasuke, use 100,000 volts quickly." Zabuza didn't care about these two guys. He raised his foot and kicked the door. Naruto, who was distracted, was still waiting for Sasuke to take action, but to his surprise, Zabuza caught their buttocks first. He held the big iron door in front of him with both hands and banged his head on the door, and then felt a huge force coming from the door. Naruto, who was completely unprepared, was knocked back 5 steps. Fire style, great fireball technique. Sasuke, who was watching the battle from his side, finally took action, but instead of listening to Naruto's words and using the 100,000 volts, he used the mercy technique to arouse Zabuza's anger. The fireball hit Zabuza's position with a scorching breath. The high temperature of the burning flames reacted with the surrounding humid air, making the fog on the scene thicker. Sasuke was happy when he saw this. Got it. This enemy, the strength is just average. Yeah, your knife is pretty good. It's mine now. Naruto didn't know how to complain when he saw the way Sasuke opened the champagne at halftime. You must know that this kind of behavior is always taboo. Besides, how could Zabuza be killed by a small, great fireball technique? And that attack, just now, was obviously in line with the theory of smoke without injury. As soon as Naruto guessed this, he heard a whistling sound coming from his ears. Just pinch it. Why is Zabuza just staring at him and beating him? Could it be that Sasuke's damage didn't bring down the boss's hatred? Kid, I want you to die here. UPD me off. Zabuza raised his beheading sword high and struck hard at Naruto's head, as if to move Naruto's head away from his body, just like the name of the weapon in his hand. Naruto felt the knife getting closer and closer. Not only did he show no intention of dodging, but he also sent his head up. He kicked off his feet and hit Zabuza with a rocket headbutt in the stomach. Kulme. A physical showdown. Whoever is a coward is Akamaru. Zabuza never thought that this brat would dare to come close to him. He had just thought of a countermeasure on how to chase this brat, but now he suddenly approached him, and the attack with the beheading sword had failed. But it's not a big problem. How strong can a teenager be? Oh, dash! Naruto put his head on Zabuz's stomach, causing the demon to bend forward like a shrimp and fly backwards. Zabuz's eyes bulged, his mind went blank when he was knocked away, and his whole brain was buzzing. At this moment, there was only one thought in his mind. Matt, what the hell is this yellow-haired brat? Why are you so strong? Chapter 48 Uchiha Sasuke, just want the Xuanzhong ruler. What's wrong? Naruto's rocket head hammer not only knocked Zabuza unconscious. Even Kakashi was so frightened that he already felt a dull pain in his stomach just by looking at the opponent flying out. It's hard to imagine what the enemy's inner state is like at this moment. But if Naruto were to hit him, he would be bruised and bruised. Sasuke glanced at the enemy flying out, biting his teeth slightly, feeling a little unbalanced. Looking at the way the other party turned to attack Naruto, it was obvious that he didn't take him seriously. In addition, the operation just now did not cause any damage to the enemy at all, making Sasuke feel even more uncomfortable. I remember that during the previous battle with Mr. Kakashi, Naruto complained about himself. It can be said that the operation is as fierce as a tiger, but the output is less than 0.5 at first glance. He didn't understand this at first, but as time went by, Sasuke gradually understood that Naruto was complaining that he didn't hit the enemy with any of his attacks. Hateful. You actually look down on me. Sasuke felt angry again. Since when? The current enemies have begun to ignore the Uchiha clan. Sasuke's eyes turned red with anger at the thought of being ignored. The scarlet double Magatama Sharingan rotated crazily in his eyes, and then Sasuke took out a scroll from his shirt. This seal scroll contains thousands of shurikens. He has 10 more scrolls like this on him. Under the influence of Naruto, Sasuke gradually developed a phobia of lack of firepower. In order to deal with Uchiha Itachi in the future, he even sold his family's house and used the money to buy detonating charms. Sasuke flicked his thumb to easily untie the string on the scroll, then formed a seal with one hand and threw the scroll horizontally with the other hand. Boo-hoo-hoo, hundreds of shurikens flew towards Zabuz's position, with a few kunai mixed in, and the kunai was also tied with a detonating charm. After learning from the past, Sasuke immediately shouted to Naruto, "Which way has more roads?" Hearing Sasuke's voice, Naruto immediately understood what he meant and threw several light gates directly in the path where a shuriken was thrown. It's just that the shurikens thrown by Sasuke were too dense, and many of them missed the light gate. Zabuza over their head just stood firm, and he hadn't recovered from the previous attack. He now felt like his intestines were about to twist together and get knotted. Zabuza looked at the yellow hair and began to form seals with his hands. The defeat in the opponent's hands just now finally made him clear up a little. When he reached the 26th seal, 8 cocoons of purple light suddenly spread out around him. The faint light of Ying reflected on Zabuz's face, seeming to remind Zabuza with gay purple. Why is this thing happening again? Although Zabuza was puzzled, looking at the current situation, nothing good would come of it. Boo-hoo-hoo, the next second, the purple light cocoon shot out dense shurikens. Zabuza, who had a sharp eye, also saw a lot of kunai with detonating talismans mixed in among them. His pupils were so trembling that he didn't even have time to think about what was going on. Having wandered on the verge of death for a long time, his fighting instinct and will to survive drove him to raise his beheading sword to protect his vitals. At this moment, he suddenly remembered that there was also a purple light cocoon around the other kid just now. I see. Is it time and space ninjutsu? After Zabuza figured it out, he randomly found a cocoon of light with not many shurikens, raised his beheading sword, and charged into the cocoon with these shurikens. Since the decapitating sword could not block all attacks, many shurikens were pierced into Zabuza's body. But the pain was nothing to him. Boom, 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 the moment he disappeared, a series of explosions sounded from where he was standing. Succeeded. Sasuke looked happy when he saw that his attack hit. Now that guy has nowhere to escape, right? I can't stop you with a seal scroll, shuriken, and kunai. Naruto has never been in the habit of opening champagne at halftime, so he rushed to Zabuza's position to confirm the situation after losing a portal. However, when he arrived, in addition to bloodstains on the ground, there were also many throwing objects scattered on the ground. Idiot, give it. Beware of enemies. Naruto turned his head and saw that the boy was giggling, and then he saw Zabuza emerging from the purple light cocoon in front of Sasuke with blood all over him. This is the first time that the space gate has been exploited by the enemy. As a user, Naruto had thought about this situation, but he didn't care. Anyway, his physical skills are very strong. If the enemy dares to rush into the space gate and come to him, it will basically be in vain. But the crux of the matter is, Sasuke, who was having a great time, did not expect this situation at all. When he saw Zabuza rushing out of the light cocoon, he was slightly stunned. In this short period of time, Zabuza's decapitating sword had already struck at his head. Fortunately, Sharingan's abnormal dynamic vision allowed Sasuke to react. He leaned back, and the decapitating knife grazed his nose. If he were a second too late, Sasuke's head would be chopped off by the opponent. But at this moment, he fully activated the lightning-style chakra in his body. Under the influence of lightning-style chakra-stimulating cells, Sasuke's speed increased several times. After dodging the opponent's decapitating sword, Sasuke immediately counterattacked Zabuza. Sasuke flipped his wrist slightly and kicked Zabuza's wrist holding the sword. Bang what? Clone technique? Sasuke was numb. I just want to explode the opponent's weapon. Why is it so difficult? At the same time, Zabuza's voice sounded in Naruto's ears again. Water-style water dragon bullet. Naruto? Gone. How can Zabuza capture me? Naruto could feel the power of this ninjutsu without even turning his head. And it's very close. His hair was even wet with the water from this ninjutsu. Naruto gritted his teeth and missed it several times in a row, and he became a little angry. Good. Zabuza, you're playing like this, right? All your injuries were caused by the evil Uchiha brat, so you have to target me, right? Gone. Wind escape bloodstorm technique open. Boom. When Naruto activated this technique, the water dragon had already opened its ferocious mouth and swallowed him up. Just the next second, a red mask appeared on Naruto's body. This power formed a shield around him, and the violent wind escape chakra impacted the water dragon bomb. The water dragon bullet cast by Zabuza is slightly more powerful than Kakashi, and with the scene nearby, the power of this technique is greatly enhanced. But despite this, the water dragon was unable to cause any harm to Naruto. After the water dragon disappeared, Zabuza saw red chakra spurting out of the yellow man's body, and his hair stood up slightly. He also vaguely heard a sound similar to drumming dong dong dong. Boom! The moment Naruto took a step forward, the ground sank deeply, gravel was scattered, and his figure disappeared from the spot. Zabuza could only hear this boy's voice. Laozi's punch is the result of 12 years of skill. I asked you how to block it. Chapter 49 OK. Okay, you just want to be Uchiha Shaoyan, right? Boom! Naruto used a serious punch on Zabuza, and the blood wrapped around his arm and blasted towards the opponent. The hair of the two people facing each other was blown by the strong wind like fluttering seaweed. Zabuza had no time to fight back, so he had to raise the beheading sword and strike it at his chest. Sasuke looked nervous when he saw this scene. He was worried that Naruto would break his equipment with a punch, so he subconsciously blurted out, "Which way is more?" Don't. Bang, the fist hit the decapitating sword, causing Zabuza's blocking body to move back some distance. The blow just now made his shoulders numb. The beheading sword actually developed slight cracks under Naruto's punch. Zabuza's eyelids jumped when he noticed the marks on his weapon. Damn it, who is this brat? There is so much strength. You must never confront the opponent head-on. Zabuza has encountered many powerful enemies in his life, and has also encountered situations where he was at a disadvantage in a head-on duel. He knew that in this situation, he must not confront the opponent head-on. Besides, just now, the strong smell of blood on this kid was enough to tell. He must have used forbidden magic to have such great strength, right? Have you risked your life to fight with yourself? He is a respectable opponent. Zabuza retreated and tried to distance himself from his opponent, but Naruto, who had already used his ultimate move, couldn't let him go. He grabbed Zabuza's clothes with one hand and started bombarding him wildly with the other. Zabuza was caught and had no way of escaping, and remembering the kid's nonsense before, he became angry again. Good. Let's see how long you can last as a kid with forbidden magic. Then the fight between the two turned into a fight between you and me. During the battle, both sides were coughing up blood, accompanied by the sound of broken bones. After more than 10 seconds passed, Zabuza found that his fists were a little heavy and there were many fractures on his body. Look at this yellow-haired kid again. Not only did he behave like a normal person, he even became braver as he fought. What the hell is this? Mr. Zabuza, who was hiding in the dark, saw that the situation was not good and finally jumped out to support. Secret technique of ice escape. 1,000 killings and water soaring. A large number of Sanban were thrown at Naruto's feet. Naruto, who was fighting each other, subconsciously let go of Zabuza and then stepped aside. Naruto was getting a little angry at this point. Mud, where are the teammates? Everyone has started to play in a group. Hurry up and follow us. Shiro, who suddenly appeared, quickly formed a seal with one hand and began to perform ninjutsu in the direction of Naruto. Although Zabuza's intentions were revealed by the other party, he was very grateful to the child, but you must know that this is a task between ninjas. To be honest, Bieten didn't want to hurt the other party, he just wanted them to give up the mission. Secret technique of ice escape magic mirror ice crystal. While at the same time, Haku's ninjutsu formed several ice walls around Naruto and Zabuza. These square ice walls were suspended in the air, and their smooth surface was like a mirror. Naruto could even see his own face in it. For a moment, Naruto felt like he was playing with a funny mirror in an amusement park. But then again, Bai's ninjutsu is a bit like a formation. But this trick is of no use to you. Didn't that guy Bai notice that he used the space door just now? Just when Naruto was distracted, Zabuza saw Haku taking action, dragging his painful body and quickly distanced himself from Naruto, and then disappeared from the spot after forming seals with his hands. Sasuke saw this scene through the gap in the ice wall with a wild smile on his face. Naruto, leave that enemy to me just now. After hearing this, Naruto subconsciously looked up at the sky. It was obviously cloudy today, and there was no sun. Why did Sasuke start drifting again? Naruto slowly raised his hand and raised his middle finger in Sasuke's direction. Boo-hoo-hoo, thousands of copies were shot out from the ice walls in all directions at the same time. Naruto looked disdainful, and Sasuke's dodge action flashed through his mind. Then his steps moved slightly, and then he began to move around among the thousands of books. A series of difficult moves such as front flips, back flips, side flips, one-handed Thomas pirouettes, etc. were all performed by Naruto. If you didn't read those 1,000 books, you can say that this operation is even better than Sasuke's. After just a few operations, Naruto was turned into a hedgehog by Kaienben. It can be said that the reception was very accurate. Jingle Naruto bit off a few Sanban sticks on his shoulders and felt very unhappy. Really, Sasuke's fighting style is unmatched by himself. Bai hid in the ice mirror and was in a trance. No, what is this guy doing? He remembered that his accuracy in losing thousands of books was probably not that accurate, right? Judging from the thousands of books scattered on the ground, 90% of them hit this child. The remaining 10% is still wasted. And why does this kid look like a normal person with 1,000 books inserted into his body? Although Bai couldn't figure out why this guy was okay, Bai could still tell that the other person's condition at this time was not as good as before. Are there any side effects of forbidden techniques? Bai said secretly in his heart, and then began to persuade Naruto. Abandon the mission. I don't want to kill you. Naruto pulled out the Senbon from his body and realized that his wind release and bloodstorm technique was about to end, so he immediately threw a portal and got in. Bai's brain was stuck for a moment after he had just activated mouth escape. The next second, Naruto's figure appeared in front of Kakashi. Originally, Naruto wanted to go white alone, but when he thought about a certain white-haired Nakato standing around watching the whole battle, he felt very unbalanced. Kakashi-sensei. Substitute. I'll take a rest. What? The sudden appearance of Naruto made Kakashi lose his mind, and seeing that the child looked like a bloodstained hedgehog, he wanted to ask what happened. As a result, before he could say a second sentence, Naruto was pushed into the light door. Kakashi then appeared within Shiro's ninjutsu range. Kakashi. Uzumaki Naruto, thank you so much. Forced to join the battle, Kakashi sighed and slowly pulled up his blindfold, revealing the 3 Magatama Sharingan. That's all. Let that kid rest. He also knew that Naruto would be weak for a period of time after using that technique. Plus, as their leader Chunin, it would really be unreasonable not to take action. Naruto stood there and quickly cleaned up the Senbon on his body, took out a sofa, lay down on it, and took out the life potion ton before the side effects of wind release and bloodstorm came and drank it. After finishing, Naruto still felt a little tingling in his back, so he waved his hand for Sakura to come forward. Feeling somewhat sorry for calling his friend's wife to take care of his injuries alone, Naruto immediately changed his name to Sakura. From now on, we will call her brothers. Brothering, help me take off the 1,000 books on my back. Sakura. What'd he call me? Damn Naruto. Sakura's face was ashen, but she found that this guy was covered in Senbon, so she still stepped forward to help. This is the only place where she can contribute to the team, right? Sakura was hesitant when she pulled out Senbon at first, but the moment she saw Senbon pulled out, the guy's wound healed immediately. This once again refreshed Sakura's understanding. After dealing with the injury, Naruto collapsed on the sofa, holding a cup of milk tea on his left hand and taking a sip from time to time. Then he heard Sakura ask him hesitantly, Naruto, what is the Xianzhong ruler? Uzumaki Naruto. Seeing Naruto's confused look, Sakura pursed her lips, looked at Sasuke who was fighting with Zabuza, and continued. Sasuke just shouted about Xianzhongxi. Then he rushed forward. Sakura's eyes were filled with complexity. She had just noticed Sasuke's obsession when he was talking about this strange ruler. This is something Sakura won't be able to deal with immediately. I have a beautiful girl by your side, but you don't have a broken ruler to attract people? After hearing what Sakura said, Naruto's teeth began to hurt. No, Sasuke wants Zabuza's decapitating sword? Good. You want to be Uchiha Shao Yen, right? Chapter 50 Zabuza. Shiro, you smell so good. After a few minutes of relief, Naruto found that his injuries were almost recovered, and he immediately threw a space gate and flashed to the battle place between Sasuke and Zabuza. Ever since Zabuza and Naruto entered into a turn-based battle just now, there was not a single good spot on his body. Not only his right hand was fractured, but 3 ribs were also broken. The most outrageous thing was that the boy was still trying to hit him on the waist. Taking a breath of air, he felt pain all over his body. Later, he finally got out of the battle and took a rest, but the Uchiha kid ran up to him again. Moreover, this Uchiha brat didn't want to play taijutsu with him. He kept throwing ninja tools at him, as if they were for free, and there were even detonating charms mixed in them. Not only that, after he threw away the ninja tool, he also put the ninjutsu next to it. This fighting style really makes Zabuza a little confused. Let's not talk about the monster-like kid in front. The ninja tools thrown by this Uchiha are more than the reward of this mission. Judging from the action of taking it out of his arms, it was obvious that he didn't intend to stop. Is this kid sick? Even if you have money, you can't burn it like this. Rao has never encountered such an evil fighting style in his many years of ninja career. Zabuza cursed this prodigal thing and fled in embarrassment under the rain of shurikens. Just after escaping a wave, he saw the familiar yellow-haired figure again. Rough. Zabuza cursed on the spot. A sound of breaking through the air came from Zabuza's ears. Before he even looked up to see what it was, he heard a bang, and the ninja tool turned into that Uchiha wasteful thing. "You're not bad," Sasuke said coldly, turned over and kicked the opponent's knife-holding wrist. Zabuza felt his wrist go numb, and the beheading sword flew out. When he turned back to look for the kid, he was already standing not far away and picked up the beheading knife. Not even 3 seconds before Naruto arrived at the battlefield, he saw Sasuke beating Zabuza, who was still alive, and then grabbing the sword and looking up at the side, laughing wildly. Look at the ground again. At this time, the place where the two were fighting was full of ninja tools, and it was difficult to even get a foothold. Naruto's expression instantly wrinkled. This kid used all the sealing scrolls on his body. Are you having a hard time? Zabuza is already losing blood. Chun-Chun uses a cannon to kill mosquitoes. Naruto now understands why the young couple in the original work was so difficult. So, after the Chidori style was released, Saban had no money to buy ninja tools. Zabuza knelt on one knee, his hands hanging on his sides, and blood was still coming out of his mouth. Shiro, who was fighting evenly with the Konoha technicians, became extremely anxious when he discovered Zabuza's situation. Please stop us. We abandoned the mission. Please don't hurt Mr. Zabuza." Shiro immediately canceled ninjutsu, took off his equipment, and appeared in front of Kakashi. He reached out and slowly took off the mask, revealing his delicate face, which even Kakashi was stunned. During the battle just now, Kakashi threw a bottle of perfume in order to catch the opponent's traces. He didn't even think that his actions just now added charm to the woman in front of him. That's it. Kakashi glanced at the man not far away and nodded slightly. In peacetime, several village ninjas clashed while performing tasks. As long as one party gave up the task, the other party would basically not kill them. Seeing that none of his team members were injured, Kakashi nodded slightly to acknowledge the other party's request. "Naruto, Sasuke, you can stop now." After hearing Kakashi's words, Sasuke held the beheading sword a little harder. "It doesn't matter whether this guy dies or not, but the Xianzhong ruler must be mine." Haku quickly ran to Zabuza's side and helped him up, his eyes full of worry. What are you doing?" Zabuza turned his head and shrugged his nose, then looked at Shiro and opened his mouth to ask with difficulty. "You are just my tool. Why should you make decisions for me?" "Sorry, Mr. Zabuza. Forgive me for my unauthorized assertion. If you continue this mission, you will die." Shiro put Zabuza's hand on his neck, tears already shining in his eyes. The members of Team 7 next to them all looked like they were trying to take advantage of others. Sakura especially looked extremely excited. "So this is love. It's so beautiful. And that girl is so beautiful." She turned to look at Sasuke as she said this. It's just that Sasuke was wiping his new weapon with a cloth at this time, so he couldn't think of paying attention to Sakura. Kakashi was watching from the sidelines as they flirted with each other, and he even responded to the girl Sakura in a rare way. "Yes, this is green love." He blurted out those 2 words subconsciously and immediately changed his words when he felt something was wrong. Naruto's pupils trembled. He was afraid that Kakashi would make a certain green melon skin signature move next second. Does it seem that there is a subtle influence between people? Naruto felt scared when he thought of this. So far, so good. I didn't go looking for that green melon rind at the beginning. Seeing Sakura constantly sighing with Kakashi beside him, he really couldn't help but interrupt the two of them. Just as Sakura began to dream about the happy future of the lovers in front of her, and the future of herself and Sasuke, she couldn't help but start to giggle. At this moment, Naruto's voice sounded, breaking the girl's fantasy. "That guy is a man. Sakura? Kakashi? Sasuke, huh?" The 3 of them glanced at Naruto at the same time, and then looked at Shiro in shock. Sakura glanced at Shiro's chest, then at her own, gritted her teeth, and clenched her fists. When she thought about what Naruto called her Inga just now, the veins on her forehead jumped. Naruto, this guy can tell the difference between men and women based on their chests. Hateful. Don't he know that speaking like this hurts a girl's heart? Also, I haven't started to grow yet. Everything will be fine in the future. Sakura took a deep breath and said angrily to Naruto, Naruto, it's too much for you to say that to a girl. Kakashi nodded on the side, even though he thought what Naruto said made sense. That, I am indeed a man. But I heard that several people misunderstood his gender and timidly explained. Everyone present, except Naruto, was petrified for 3 seconds. After a while, Sakura twisted her stiff neck and shouted, "You're lying, you're lying. How can boys be so cute?" Kakashi and Sasuke nodded in agreement. Naruto spread his hands. He couldn't explain this thing. We can go." After Shiro and Zabuza argued for a while, they looked at Kakashi and asked with a pleading look on his face. No. Naruto didn't wait for Kakashi to agree to the other party and stood up and shouted first, "This knife belongs to us. Besides, kiss him and I'll let you go." Kakashi, Sasuke, Sakura. Zabuza, who was about to faint, suddenly widened his eyes. I don't know what he is thinking at the moment. Good. Bai's face turned slightly red. He closed his eyes and quickly tapped Zabuza's face, then lowered his head and did not dare to look at anyone else. Kakashi and others were petrified again. They felt that the relationship between Zabuza and Shiro was a bit unimaginable. Naruto waved his hand and drove the two away in disgust. But when they were leaving, Naruto suddenly heard Zabuza say feebly, "Bai, what does it smell like on you?" "It smells so good." Chapter 51, I have a special way to open my eyes. Shiro supported Zabuza as he struggled to walk in the mist, and Sakura's face turned slightly red. Although this was a love between two men, she always felt very offended when she saw the height difference between Shiro and Zabuza, and when Shiro kissed Zabuza on the cheek just now. But after a long time, Sakura's head almost felt like it was smoking, and she couldn't accept such a forbidden love. Between men and men, there should be no children, right? I don't understand. Sakura murmured something to express her shock. Kakashi's eyes returned to his salty look again, and he spoke in a neutral tone. Nothing. This kind of thing is not uncommon in the ninja world. It is said that you, Naruto, no, Uchiha Madara and first Hokage are really playing together? After noticing the element, Sasuke stopped wiping the mysterious ruler and looked at Kakashi with a puzzled expression. Kakashi realized there was an Uchiha next to him and immediately fell silent. Well, even if the Uchiha clan is wiped out, it is better not to destroy the image of their ancestors in the heart of Sasuke. Sakura had an 8 trigrams look on her face, and then she thought of Haku and Zabuza just now, and then looked at Sasuke and Naruto. Her expression suddenly froze, and her face turned pale. She secretly grabbed Naruto with a mysterious expression. "Brothering, what are you doing?" "Don't call me." "Oh, forget it." Sakura wanted to correct Naruto's name for her, but then she thought that this guy probably wouldn't listen to her, so she simply gave up. "Naruto, I told you that you already have Hinata. You should understand what I mean, right?" Sakura continued to wink at Naruto as she spoke. "Naruto." Hearing brother Sakura's words, Naruto's expression became distorted. "Mud, look at how sure you are. No wonder Sasuke isn't interested in you at all right now." Naruto was silent for a long time and then pointed at the beheading sword in Sasuke's hand. "I think you need to think about it first. Why is the beheading sword more attractive than you?" I want to always be like this." Sakura looked down, then looked at Sasuke, who was stroking the decapitating sword, and secretly encouraged herself in her heart. Everything will get better. Let's go and send the client back. Our mission should be completed this time." Kakashi subconsciously reached into his ninja tool bag, and when he touched the book, he suddenly stopped wanting to read and study. The 3 little ones nodded and followed Dazna toward his home. Dazna's mood was a bit complicated, but no one cared about what he was thinking. Anyway, after sending him back, their 7th team's mission for this trip is over, and they will have to consider where to travel later. In the evening, they had a meal at Old Man Dazuna's house, and then Naruto built a 3-story villa on the edge of the forest as a temporary residence for everyone. Kakashi and Sakura didn't know how to complain. Which ninja has a swimming pool in his temporary residence? And it's only for one night. I feel really bad. Kakashi sat on the edge of the coffee table and drank a cup of hot tea comfortably. He felt that all the fatigue caused by today's battle had disappeared. He glanced at the three little ones and said quietly, "Why don't you guide your practice here first?" While Sasuke sat on the table, clasping his chin with one hand and turning the pages of the book with the other. Kakashi's words were exactly what he wanted. He had just seen Xiao Yin learn 3,000 thunder movements, and coupled with what Naruto said about magnetism last time, he felt like he had some clues. And they both have the thunder fire chakra attribute. Now Sasuke just feels that Xiao Yin in this book is simply another himself. I have found a way to become stronger. Uchiha Itachi, you are a member of the Hand-Blade clan. You killed your father and your mother. You are a son of a human being in vain. Wait, Uchiha Sasuke will kill you. After Sasuke finished scolding Itachi every day, he turned the pages and immersed himself in the book. After watching for a while, he suddenly frowned. Naruto, can you make me a black robe? Naruto was speechless for a moment after hearing this. Bid, you really want to be Uchiha Xiao Yin, right? Sasuke, I think you should read less of this book. Everything in it is fictitious. Naruto pursed his lips, feeling like he was Tsukuru. Why would he show this book to Sasuke if he had nothing to do? He should have thought of it long ago. Sasuke, at the age of 2 in middle school, couldn't watch this kind of thing. Now he is beginning to worry about continuing like this. When Sasuke sees the old man from Six Paths, he will have to shout, "Six Paths Lao Dang. My destiny is not up to my will. Today, I will go heaven defying. You are just the inner demon on my spiritual path. Break it for me." Snapped. Naruto covered his face. The scene was too rough. No, we can't let Sasuke continue like this. First, guide him to develop Sharingan. Don't spend all day doing all the burning techniques or something like 3,000 thunders. Besides, this kid can ask himself several times a day about Xiao Yan's skills. Riding on a horse. Isn't this simply a disease? If I know this, can I still sit here and chat with you? Moreover, I don't have the Thunder Fire Chakra attribute either. Ahem. That's Sasuke. I have a way to help you get the 3 Magatama. Kakashi and Sakura, who were drinking tea, looked at Naruto in shock. Neither of them could figure out why Naruto knew how to open the eyes of a Sharingan of the Uchiha clan. Sasuke, on the other hand, looked calm and calmly uttered a few words while sitting. Tell me. Sasuke was still a little interested in what Naruto said. You must know that compared to studying fire style and lightning style, 3 Magatama Sharingan is indeed the fastest way to enhance your strength. The former is a long-term development route, and Sasuke knows that there is no need to rush. Naruto glanced at Sakura, his eyes a little wandering. What about that, brothering? We're going to talk about things between men. You go out first. Sakura tilted her head with a question mark on her face. No, didn't we just talk about helping Sasuke open the 3 Magatama? Why did you start talking about men? Thinking of what happened to Zabuza and Haku today, Sakura was still a little wary of Naruto. Naruto wouldn't do anything to feel sorry for Hinata, right? Although Sakura was confused, she still left obediently based on the principle of trusting her teammates. But when she closed the door, she took one last look at Naruto, feeling a bad feeling in her heart. Naruto, how are you going to open Sasuke's eyes? Kakashi yawned, not taking Naruto's words to heart at all. After all, if there is such a thing, why didn't the Uchiha clan figure it out before you did? He just thought Naruto was joking again. Sasuke's attitude was extremely serious, because since he met Naruto, this guy has never lied to him. When you say you become stronger, you really mean you can become stronger. Naruto glanced at the door secretly, and then mysteriously took out something from the system. Blue JK skirt. Chapter 52, I will turn all your laughter into screams. Kakashi opened one eye slightly, with a very strange expression. As a qualified reader of Xiaolu Bei, he naturally knew what Naruto had in his hands. On weekdays, he also sees many heroines wearing such clothes. But the crux of the matter is, you kid took out the JK skirt right now and asked Sasuke to put it on. Kakashi glanced at Sasuke secretly and couldn't help but picture him wearing a short skirt in his mind. No, my eyes are going blind. Only halfway through imagining it, Kakashi didn't dare to continue thinking about it and his body shivered uncontrollably. The way he looked at Naruto became more and more strange. Sasuke stared at the cloth in Naruto's hand in silence for a long time, his face turning blue and white. Although he is not as experienced as Kakashi, but it can also be seen that this piece of fabric is very improper. Also, isn't this short skirt just for girls? After a while, Sasuke raised his head and said to Naruto, "Naruto, this is not funny." There was some anger in his voice. Whenever Kakashi brings this thing out, he will reward the opponent with 1 foot. No, Sasuke, believe me, put it on and you can open your eyes. Naruto said seriously, his expression at this moment extremely sincere. After saying that, he solemnly placed the short skirt and knee-high stockings on the table, then turned around and sighed quietly. Sasuke, we have known each other for so long, didn't you expect that I am such a person in your mind? Well, have you forgotten what you said to me back then? I'm willing to do anything as long as I can become stronger. Naruto's tone was very sad, and after listening to it, Sasuke's mind began to recall the memories of the two of them getting along over the years. Only, Kakashi noticed that Naruto's shoulders were shaking slightly. This kid is obviously holding back his laughter. Sasuke glanced at the things on the table in embarrassment. The expression on his face was one of confusion. He did trust Naruto very much, but he knew the boy's temperament better. Who knows if this guy is making fun of himself by dressing up as a woman? The risk involved was too great, and Sasuke didn't dare to listen to Naruto and change it rashly. To put it bluntly, Sasuke didn't dare to gamble. Can't. 3 Magatama Sharingan, it smells really good. Finally, he thought about it in his mind and gritted his teeth and said, "It's all about getting stronger. Naruto, I believe you once." But Sasuke paused for a moment when he said this, pointing to something on the table with a fierce look in his eyes. You both have to change too. In order to prevent Naruto from making a fool of himself, he decided to drag these 2 guys into the water. After everyone wears this thing, there shouldn't be any big problems, right? Kakashi? Naruto was slightly startled when he heard Sasuke's words, then turned around and patted him on the shoulder. Do not worry. I know you have concerns. It's okay. In order to help you open your eyes, Mr. Kakashi and I will accompany you to change them. Naruto showed a hearty smile, looking extremely reliable, and squeezed Kakashi's shoulders. Wait a minute, Naruto. Is your method really reliable? Kakashi suddenly spoke at this time, but before he could finish his words, he was interrupted by Naruto with a righteous look on his face. Hateful. Kakashi-sensei, don't underestimate the bond between us. At this time, Kakashi, whose brain had not yet recovered, could only agree. Certainly, the main reason was that Kakashi noticed something was wrong with Naruto's eyes. The two people's eyes met at this moment, and after 2 seconds of brief exchange, they nodded their heads at the same time. In order to reassure Sasuke, Naruto took out 2 more sets, gave 1 set to Kakashi, and took another set for himself. Sasuke finally felt relieved after hearing what Naruto said. They all put on short skirts. Naruto wouldn't be making fun of himself, right? The 3 of them blushed while holding JK, skirts, and knee-high stockings. Then they looked at each other and, without saying a word, turned and ran to their respective rooms to change. After changing into a short skirt, Sasuke looked down at the short skirt and the black stockings that just reached his knees, and his expression instantly wrinkled. Even my brain started to feel dizzy. What the hell am I doing? At this moment, Sasuke resisted all over and couldn't move the hand that grabbed the doorknob. After standing there for a few minutes, Sasuke decided not to look down at his short skirt anymore. As long as he kept looking forward, he could lie to himself that he was not wearing a short skirt. Worried that he would be laughed at by the other 2 if he went out first, Sasuke shouted to the door. Have you changed it yet? All right, that's it. After hearing the 2 people's answers, Sasuke immediately felt better. After all, Naruto and Kakashi-sensei also experienced this shame together. Okay, let's come out together. Sasuke stood by the door and shouted into the door. After getting responses from the 2, 3-door push sounds sounded. Sasuke's face was slightly red. He covered his short skirt with his hands and walked into the living room nervously. However, the moment he saw Naruto and Mr. Kakashi, Sasuke's brain shut down and his mind went blank. Naruto and Kakashi didn't change into short skirts. They were still wearing the same outfit as before. At this moment, time seems to have stood still. The two of them glanced at Sasuke, who was wearing a short skirt and stockings, and his shoulders began to shake crazily, uncontrollably. He even made a cuckoo sound from time to time. You could say they took great care of Sasuke by not laughing out loud on the spot. Sasuke glanced at the two guys expressionlessly, without making any reaction. He walked to the table and picked up his Schwanzhong ruler. Then there was a thunderous sound in the living room, and Sasuke raised the Schwanzhong ruler and waved at the two of them. You two, damn God, I will turn all your laughter into screams. Go to hell. The furious Sasuke's whole body flashed with electric arcs, and even the weapon in his hand was covered with a layer of electric light. Sasuke didn't realize that his current state was infinitely stronger than before. However, he can't control that much now. He just wanted the white and yellow hair in front of him to die under his feet. Etc. You idiot. Calm down first. Didn't you realize that you have mastered the lightning style ninjutsu? Seeing Sasuke raising his knife and about to chop him, Naruto hurriedly began to persuade the child. Kakashi also stood up and began to persuade. Yes, you have indeed become a lot stronger. Cuckoo. After hearing the two words, Sasuke's expression softened a lot. He put down the Schwanzhong ruler he held high and then began to feel the power in his body. Only then did he discover that the lightning-style chakra in his body not only ran without any obstruction, but also became extremely smooth. The most important thing is, finally no more singeing. Sasuke, who was flashing with electric light, moved slightly and was surprised to find that his speed was so fast that he could pull out the afterimage. Naruto noticed that Sasuke's expression softened a lot and began to praise Sasuke again. Too strong, you fool. You are indeed the most powerful of the Uchiha clan. Kakashi nodded in agreement. Really, Uchiha, you are the strongest I have ever seen. After hearing the two people's compliments, Sasuke's mouth moved up and down several times, and he couldn't hold it down at all. Naruto actually praised me. Has he finally recognized my strength? There are also compliments from the talented teacher Jnin, Kakashi. They actually said that they are the strongest in Uchiha. Sasuke himself values family honor very seriously. Now being praised by Naruto and Kakashi as being in the Uchiha clan and being praised as the strongest in the family, they couldn't suppress the ecstasy in their hearts. He put his hands on his hips, put his legs together slightly, shook his short skirt a few times, and then started laughing crazily. Ha 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 ha. Of course, our Uchiha clan is the strongest. Naruto felt that the heat was not enough, so he changed into a sailor suit and pink girl underwear, walked up to Sasuke, and winked. Sasuke, look, you just put on a short skirt and realized lightning style. Is it necessary to change into a set and not directly open the three Magatama? Sasuke rolled his eyes, feeling that what Naruto said seemed to make sense, and he hesitated for a moment before agreeing. Anyway, I'm already wearing a short skirt, so I don't need a top like this. Outside the door, Sakura sat at the door, listening to the noise coming from the room, unable to imagine what was going on inside. She heard Sasuke shouting that Uchiha is the strongest, and what Naruto said about success. Could it be Sasuke succeeded? After eavesdropping at the door for a while, I found that there was no movement at all, so I decided to go in and take a look. Sakura gently turned the doorknob to open the door, and then the girl saw an unforgettable scene. Chapter 53, just tell me whether you opened the three Magatama or not. At this time, Sasuke leaned forward slightly, holding on to his pink underwear with his hands behind his back. His face was still a little rosy with his eyebrows lowered. Kakashi was holding the same set of pink fat pieces in his hand and was making incomprehensible noises from his mouth. Naruto was holding the sailor uniform in front of Sasuke to compare the size, his shoulders twitching from time to time. As Sakura pushed the door open, the scene in the room stopped at this moment. When the three of them saw Sakura, their pupils trembled greatly, and all the movements in their hands stopped, as if they were all frozen. Sakura was stunned when she saw this scene. The boy he admired was being manipulated by Kakashi-sensei and Naruto at this moment. From the girl's perspective, Naruto seemed to be saying to her, "Sakura, your man, is very moist." What's even more outrageous is Sasuke even changed into girl's underwear. Still pink. You, what the hell are you doing? Do not know why. Sakura feels that Sasuke's face is a little red now, and he looks a little shy. Damn, Naruto, I'm going to kill you. I was told before that I wouldn't have any thoughts about Sasuke. What on earth are you and Kakashi-sensei doing to Sasuke? The girl's mentality was first shocked and confused, and then changed to regret and anger. Now she was sure there's a big problem between Naruto and Sasuke. Kakashi-sensei, too. He's still holding something like that. Sasuke's face was stiff, and the power in his eyes was flowing crazily. During Sakura's gate of opening, his Sharingan opened uncontrollably. The double Magatama Sharingan kept spinning in his eyes. As Sakura spoke, Sasuke's double Magatama Sharingan also turned into a triple Magatama Sharingan. But he can't focus on Sharingan right now. Wearing women's clothing was originally very embarrassing. So he finally overcame his psychological barrier and gave it a try. As a result, it was even seen by my teammates. Just exploded with shame. Sasuke didn't even know how to face Sakura in the future. Think again about the actions of Kakashi and Naruto just now. Rough. These two guys were laughing at themselves the whole time and never stopped. Damn it. They will definitely laugh at themselves about this in the future. Thinking of this, he felt a rush of heat rush to his forehead, and his vision became blurred. Destroy it. This world shouldn't exist. Boom. Unable to accept the fact, Sakura quickly closed the door. She stood outside the door, took a deep breath, and patted her cheeks with both hands. No, I should be the Jinjutsu of Mr. Kakashi. How could Sasuke do something like that? Ha. I must have hit a Jinjutsu. Sakura murmured, sitting on the doorstep, slowly hugging her knees and burying her head. 3 seconds later, the girl's nose felt sour, and then she burst into tears. Woo. Why, what's wrong with me? Why would Sasuke rather be like Naruto than look at me again? Just because I'm flat. Woo. Sakura cried even louder when she thought about Naruto saying that she might as well be a broken knife. In the room, Sasuke took off the pink underwear he had just put on with one hand, opened his eyes slightly, and his aura suddenly changed. Which am I on is more? Is this how you open your eyes? I want to kill you too. He gritted his teeth, picked up the Xianzhong ruler, and started swinging it. The decapitating sword wrapped in cloth was swung by Sasuke, instantly causing a strong wave of air in the room. Naruto and Kakashi broke into sweat. You just tell me if you opened your eyes? Shut up. Today I will kill you too. The furious Sasuke no longer believed the lies in Naruto's mouth. He finally figured it out. This yellow hair just wants to see his own joke. And that white hair too. The mysterious ruler in Sasuke's hand was filled with lightning, and he swung it to Naruto's waist. But the moment it hit, it didn't feel as expected. Bang! Naruto suddenly exploded into a ball of smoke, and Kakashi's eyes almost popped out when he was standing next to him. Riding on a horse. Also using Shadow Clone. Why didn't you tell me earlier when I made eye contact? Good. Uzumaki Naruto. Is this how you play? Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto's disappearance once again added fuel to Sasuke's anger. Sasuke is bare-chested, wearing knee-length black stockings on his legs, and a JK skirt on his lower body. His style of painting can be said to be extremely evil. He pointed the Xianzhong ruler at Kakashi and looked at the white-haired Zongden coldly with his pair of scarlet 3 Magatama Sharingan, etc. Sasuke, this idea came from Naruto. It has nothing to do with me, Kakashi said with a guilty look on his face, and at the same time, he put all the blame on Naruto. He said this as if he was an innocent person. So, why didn't you change into a short skirt just now? When Sasuke said this, he subconsciously glanced at his lower skirt and felt like he was going to have a cerebral hemorrhage. Kakashi glanced at Sasuke's current appearance and finally couldn't help but laugh this time. Suffer death. JK Sasuke held a mysterious ruler and started fighting Kakashi directly in the villa. The entire villa began to shake during the battle between the two. Naruto hid in a nearby tree, secretly thankful in his heart. Fortunately, I was superior and left the shadow clone in the villa, and the main body climbed out of the window first. Otherwise, he would be really embarrassed to bully Sasuke in this state. Well, Kakashi-sensei, please forgive me. This is the last time. Looking at the villa that was almost demolished by Sasuke, Naruto didn't intend to stay here anymore, so he immediately lost the space door and returned to his home. At night, Naruto lay on the bed, silently praying for teacher Kakashi in his heart for a second, and his consciousness sank into the sealed space. As soon as he came in, he found the big fox staring at him. Glancing at the barbecue grill in front of the big fox, Naruto found that less than half of the barbecue inside was eaten. Big Fox, is he in a bad mood? Naruto shrank his neck and moved cautiously. But no matter where he went, the big fox's terrifying eyes were always staring at him. After a while, Naruto finally couldn't bear the sight of this guy anymore. So he raised his head and shouted at the big fox. Big Fox, what's wrong with you? Naruto thought about what he had done during this period in his mind, and couldn't help but murmur in his heart. Teacher Gyo's special training. Because he was on a mission to fight, Big Fox gave him 3 days of vacation. Moreover, in the battle with Zabuza, he was considered the best in the game. I shouldn't have messed with this fox recently, right? One person and one fox faced each other like this for nearly 10 minutes. The big fox didn't speak, while Naruto was remembering. After a while, Kurama spoke. Kid, the book you gave that brat of the Uchiha clan today. It suddenly paused here, raised its head slightly, glared at Naruto with its nostrils, and then continued. I just want to know who the Uchiha Shao Yin you're talking about is. I have no interest in that book at all, no. What is this big fox doing? Naruto felt bad after hearing what the big fox said. Mud, there's already someone out there who reads novels and reads stupid cups. If the vixen I raise is also addicted to novels, he simply couldn't imagine what this big orange would do in the future. What a crime. Chapter 54 Help. Have you ever learned multiple shadow clone? Naruto was very reluctant to read those novels to his fox. Uchiha Shao Yin was out there, and he didn't dare to think about what his fox would become in the future. But the sour eyes of a certain vixen almost stabbed his spine. It seems to be saying, you Uzumaki Naruto, this vixen has been with you for more than 12 years. Now that you have a new person, why do you forget about the old vixen? Naruto thought about it and felt that he couldn't favor one thing over another. So he directly threw tens of thousands of novels from his system in front of Kurama. He even threw a lot of manga to Kurama. Although the book is a bit small for the big fox, Naruto believes that this guy should have a way to solve it. I just hope that when the art style of the ninja world is broken, the old man from Six Paths in the Sky will not blame himself. The jealous vixen's attitude improved a lot after seeing the pile of books. It also repeatedly emphasized that it didn't want to see these things for humans, but Naruto didn't believe a word of it anyway. Afterwards, Naruto stayed in the village for another 3 days, during which time he even went to Hyuga's house to stimulate his parents' family. The one who left was the little girlfriend who went to pick her up at the gate. Naruto Uzumaki's sudden return to the village scared the ninja team who had just started the mission, fearing that this boy would leave his clone in the village to complete the mission. Riding on a horse. It has only been less than 2 days since you took the mission. Why did you come back again? Therefore, various Jonin jointly reported that Jonin Uzumaki Naruto returned to the village without permission during the mission, which was a violation of regulations, and he must be driven back to complete the mission. Naruto and his little girlfriend were getting tired of each other when Umbu came to visit them 2 days later. They said that if he violates the rules, if he doesn't leave the village to complete the task, his money will be deducted. Horse riding. You are just making things difficult for me. Naruto Uzumaki. A certain yellow man standing at the gate of Konoha village was cursing. When he opened his mouth, he greeted the Konoha Hokage, and when he closed his mouth, he insulted the villagers of Konoha. It's really too bullying. I haven't seen Hinata for a long time. What's wrong with going back to the village and dating her for a few days? The guard at the entrance of the village stared ahead expressionlessly, as if this kid didn't exist. In desperation, Naruto gave a polite middle finger to the gate of Konoha, then lost a space door and disappeared at the gate of Konoha village. Everyone saw this scene and felt relieved. Naruto actually wanted to stay for a few more days and go back. After all, he didn't know whether the fool had calmed down and whether his teacher Kakashi was still alive. To be honest, I offended 3 people at once. He still felt a little guilty in his heart. After passing through the light door and returning to the temporary residence of Team 7, he found that only one wall of the 3-story villa he had built before was left. From the burn marks around it and the shuriken remains everywhere, it could be seen that at that time the fighting was fierce. Due to the fighting, the previous villa has been destroyed, and now the other 3 members of the 7th team have set up tents nearby. After looking at the 3 Sasukes from a distance, Naruto's heart began to beat. He always feels that this kid's anger has not gone away. After you sighed, Naruto, who was hiding in the dark, transformed into a clone, intending to let him come forward to explore the way. But the moment he saw his clone, Naruto was dumbfounded. The clone was seen wearing a white midwinter robe with a white cloth on his head. This look made Naruto himself want to turn around and run away. I asked you to go up to explore the road, but I didn't ask you to go up and shout "Long live Allah." Naruto was still comforting himself in his heart. Maybe the clone's appearance is just saying, with a piece of cloth on my head, I am the richest in the ninja world. It shouldn't be like doing anything outrageous, right? Just as he was thinking this, he heard the shadow clone's eyes light up, and he shouted cheerfully, main body, get some TNT and a backpack. I defend myself. Another AK, a whole rifle. We will become bigger and stronger and create greater glories. Naruto, no. Are you serious? Regardless of why my avatar is dressed so strangely. But isn't it a bit too much for you to ask me for a backpack and TNT? Besides, you are a shadow clone anti-trading body. Naruto, who was suddenly silenced by his clone, seemed to understand why the villagers of Konoha village were so malicious to him. After a while, Naruto opened his mouth and said bitterly, I think you're a little extreme. Shut up. I don't allow you to talk about yourself like that. The clone's expression was full of anger, and he was very dissatisfied with the main body's words. I just want to play TNT. What's wrong? Besides, that thing may not be that powerful after it is adapted to the rules. There is some truth in what the clone said. If Uchiha Shao, Sasuke is still angry, he can still let the clone block it. Naruto thought for a while, and finally took out a black school bag, a TNT, and even a lighter from his backpack. But I didn't give this guy any AK surgery. After adapting to the rules, TNT is different from the square shape of the sealed space. It becomes like a time bomb in a Hong Kong movie, just big enough to fit into a backpack. I just don't know how powerful it is. Naruto was too young back then, and he knew his own death-seeking character. So how could he dare to take out this thing to play with? Perhaps after adapting to the rules, TNT may not be very powerful, but killing yourself at a certain age is not a big problem. After the clone saw what Naruto took out, he started playing with it excitedly. When he took the lighter, he looked at the main body with contempt. I said, Ontology, what age are you still playing traditional TNT? We are in the ninja world. We must make good use of the power of ninjas. After saying that, the clone waved and threw the lighter behind him, then reached into Naruto's ninja bag and took out a detonating talisman, and then stuck the detonating talisman on the TNT with a smile. Naruto was stunned and was directly shocked by the clone's words. Mud, that makes sense. The clone stuffed the TNT into the black backpack, held up the white cloth above his head, and said sternly with an expression ready to die, no matter which way there is, I'll go with whirlpool zigs. He lifted up his backpack and swung it behind him, then walked away gracefully with the bag on his shoulder. Naruto was a little dumbfounded. Vortex zigs. Okay. You can want to be a blaster, right? Why do I have so many doppelgangers? Tell me if you have learned multiple shadow clone. Naruto watched the clone dressed in a midwinter look walking forward step by step, and his temples began to hurt. At this time, Sasuke, who was practicing shaka technique beside the tent, turned around and saw a white figure with a backpack on his shoulder. Kakashi and Sakura turned to look at the figure at the same time, instantly becoming alert. When this guy came closer, the three of them took a closer look and discovered that it was actually Naruto. Although they don't know why this kid is dressed so strangely, they just want to take care of him now. The three of them took out their weapons and charged at Naruto without any hesitation. Uzumaki, Naruto, you die. Sakura and Kakashi were relatively restrained. They just took out their kunai and shot at Naruto. Sasuke turned on the lightning-style chakra mode and appeared in front of Naruto in the blink of an eye. He held the Xuanzhong ruler high and shouted angrily, "No way. I want you to die." In the 2 days since Naruto disappeared, Sasuke and Kakashi fought several times, but there was no winner, which made him even more angry. When sleeping at night, whenever he thought of Naruto laughing at his female clothes, he would be so angry that he would beat the bed like crazy. That night, the bed Naruto had left was dried to pieces. Hearing Sasuke call his name, Naruto raised his head and shouted subconsciously, "Idiot, give it." Then he threw the bag on his shoulder in front of him and ran in the direction of the main body regardless. Chapter 55, I'm sure to drink Shiro and Zabuza's wedding wine. As soon as Sasuke raised the mysterious ruler, he saw a black backpack flying towards him. He subconsciously waved the weapon in his hand and knocked the bag away, and by accident it flew towards the camp the three of them had just set up. The next second, 2 explosions suddenly sounded in the ears of the 3 people. Boom! Boom! The 3 people who were about to attack Naruto twisted their stiff necks and looked towards the camp, only to find that it had been blown into ruins. The veins on Kakashi's eyes and forehead were protruding. This camp was built with great difficulty by picking up rubbish. It took him a day and a night of hard work. The 3 of them have only lived together for a short time. Kakashi glanced at Naruto, slowly opened the blindfold, and opened the Sharingan, and at the same time began to form seals with his hands. Earth-style wall. A high wall rose from the ground to block Naruto, but there were still several dog heads carved on it. Judging from the carving lines, it can be said that the carving technology is 100 times better than that of Hokage rock. Uzumaki Gigs was blocked under the earth wall like this, and the 3 people behind him walked toward him step by step with dark faces. The 3 people who knew Naruto very well just realized that something was wrong with this Naruto. After all, under normal circumstances, when Naruto saw them taking action, he would have opened the door immediately. And this guy is obviously Naruto's clone. Tell me, where is your true body? Kakashi walked up to him first and asked coldly. He was really angry this time. It was obvious that everyone was cheating together to open Sasuke's eyes. But this guy turned into a clone and ran away on the spot, and allowed himself to bear all of Sasuke's anger. This kind of opening that allows the leading teacher to take the blame must not be opened. I must teach this kid well. Fortunately, now I'm taking the blame for causing trouble internally, but if I cause trouble outside the village in the future, Kakashi was really worried that this boy Naruto would throw the blame on him. Uzumaki Gigs stood in front of the 3 people with a righteous and awe-inspiring expression on his face. At this moment, he was imagining himself as Jing Ku, who assassinated Qin Shi Huang. Unconsciously, it started playing in my mind. The wind is rustling, the water is cold, and the strong man is gone and never returns. Uzumaki Gigs glanced at the 3 people in front of him and said to them through gritted teeth, "Don't even think about getting any information about the true body from my mouth. Although I die today, I'm still Uzumaki Ziggs." After shouting these words, Uzumaki Gigs hit the wall next to him. Bang! After a burst of smoke, Uzumaki Gigs sacrificed his life generously and disappeared in front of several people. The whole process took less than 3 seconds, and Kakashi and others were stunned for a moment. No, what on earth is Naruto's clone doing? What on earth is he talking about? Sasuke and the others' newly ignited anger was suddenly dampened by Naruto. They really don't know how to deal with this kid now. And if you really want to deal with Naruto, this kid really wants to hide, but they really may not be able to catch each other. Also, their 7th team has to train like this for a while, and it really can't be done without Naruto's strong logistics capabilities. Kakashi sighed, turned around, and put his hands in his pockets, then shouted lifelessly to the people around him. Naruto, stop making trouble. Come out quickly. We've all started training. Naruto, who had just received the clone's memory, had a very painful expression on his face. Of course, this is not because of the side effects of multiple shadow clones, but mainly because Uzumaki Ziggs is a bit. He even began to worry about whether he would create some weird character the next time he used Shadow Clone. Well, I feel so tired and want to go back to the village to find my wife. Hearing Kakashi's voice in his ears, Naruto scratched his head and walked out of the forest with a smile. When he saw the three of them, he pretended to be surprised. Ah, Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke. Brothering. What a coincidence, haha. A few days ago, I suddenly remembered that the gas at home was not turned off. Naruto first said hello to them, and then began to use lame excuses to Shirkai to explain why he had left the team these days. Kakashi's eyes twitched, and he was speechless. He remembered that the boys' house had no gas at all. And this poor acting, you are worse than the Shadow Clone just now. Snort. Sasuke glanced at Naruto and snorted coldly, then hung the Xuanzhong ruler behind him and turned his head to give Naruto a slap on the back. Although now that Samagatama has been opened, his strength has skyrocketed, but Naruto's time and space ninjutsu is too difficult. Currently unable to defeat this guy, Sasuke decided to deal with him when he becomes stronger in the future. The kind that presses it to the ground and beats it. Not to mention Sakura, Kakashi and Sasuke are not looking for trouble, so naturally she, the weakest member of the team, is not looking for death. The most she could do now was look at Naruto and get angry. As for the rest, I don't dare to think too much about it. Seeing that the three people's emotions were somewhat stable, Naruto sneaked up to Sasuke and asked in a low voice, "How about it? How does it feel to wear, three Magatama?" Sasuke, isn't that what you wanted to say just now? Sasuke was so angry that he turned on the Sharingan again and gave Naruto a hard look. It is obviously a happy thing for Sharingan to become a three Magatama, but Sasuke couldn't be happy at the thought of opening his eyes after wearing women's clothes and being smashed by his teammates. That's right, Naruto. That boy came to see you yesterday. Kakashi suddenly came over and interrupted the two who were about to fight again, and then talked about by coming to see them yesterday. Not long after Haku and Zabuza gave up their mission, they were surrounded and killed by Kato's men. Fortunately, Haku and Kakashi were not injured during the battle. They easily eliminated Kato's men and killed Kato easily. Afterwards, Shiro took Zabuza to recuperate in the Land of Waves. I came here to look for Team 7 of Konoha yesterday because I wanted to invite everyone to have a meal together and thank them for not killing anyone. By the way, I would like to thank you, Lau, Mr. Uzumaki. Naruto was slightly stunned after hearing what Mr. Kakashi said, and then a strange smile appeared on his face. Why does it sound like Haku and Zabuza have already revealed their feelings? Good. I, Uzumaki Naruto, have decided to eat the wedding wine for you too. He could also see what kind of attitude Zabuza had when he saw him now. Thinking of this, the image of the two getting married appeared in Naruto's mind. Zabuza is indeed a real man who welcomes men. After sighing with emotion, Naruto began to clean up the ruins around him, and then spent another half an hour building a house. Even the three people who had seen Naruto's ability many times couldn't help but sigh in their hearts how useful this ability was. That night, Kakashi and others finally had a good sleep. Early the next morning, Team 7 searched for Bai's location. After most of the day, they finally found Bai in a village. At this time, Shiro was holding a basin in his hand, and inside it were his and Zabuza's clothes. Chapter 56 Uzumaki Naruto felt so scared for the first time when Bai saw a few people from Class 7. He tilted his head and smiled. Sasuke was stunned for a moment. In order not to be immersed in the charm of the little boy, Naruto was already recalling the picture of Chiyo in a swimsuit in his mind to fight against the charm. Vomit. When he thought of Granny Chiyo's appearance, Naruto couldn't stop retching on the spot. No way. The lethality is too strong. Naruto was already thinking about giving this kind of thing to Mr. Kakashi as his 27th birthday present. Then maybe he can help Mr. Kakashi get rid of the bad habit of watching Little Liu Bei. When you want to read a book, just take out Chio Granny's limited edition swimsuit and take a look. Sakura looked at Shiro and took Sasuke's arm on the spot, looking protective. Damn, this man is too dangerous. Sasuke, wake up quickly. The girl felt so tired. It would be fine if a woman coveted her man, but why were they all men? You stinky man. Can you please stop competing with me for a man? There's nothing unusual about Kakashi. He's just hunched over. Maybe the bed was too soft last night, and my back hurt when I slept on it. I didn't react when he saw Naruto turning his head and retching. He raised his hand and pushed a few strands of hair on his cheek behind his ears. But she found it troublesome to have her hair scattered on both sides. So she put down the tub, took off the rubber band from her wrist, and held it in her mouth. At the same time, she pulled her hair back with both hands and tied it into a high ponytail. When Sakura saw this, the anger in her eyes almost burst out. She seriously suspected that the man in front of her was seducing the male compatriots in Class 7. She angrily jumped in front of the group of people, her hands spread wide, and she was still shouting, "Wake up! He is a man!" After coming back to their senses, Kakashi and Sasuke turned their heads at the same time, their eyes evasive, and they didn't even dare to look at Sakura. As for Naruto, he said that the charm of the man in front of him had no effect on him at all. "Everyone, please come with me." Baiwenwen smiled, picked up the wooden basin on the ground, tilted his head, and shook his ponytail twice, signaling the people behind him to follow. Sasuke blushed a little and turned to look at Sakura. Kakashi put his hands in his pockets and stepped forward, still warning the three little ones. You have to be polite when visiting other people's houses, you know? After saying this, his eyes fell on Sakura, and the two of them looked at the girl at the same time. Sakura was stunned for a moment, and when she came to her senses, she felt extremely aggrieved. The four of them followed by and walked for a few minutes before finally arriving at their residence. At this moment, Zabuza ran into several people head-on, holding a small hammer and some nails in his hand. He was covered in bandages and was walking with a slight limp. It was obvious that the injuries from the last battle had not yet healed. Zabuza's eyes first stayed on Huang Mao for a moment, then immediately turned away, and then stared at the decapitating sword behind the boy in cropped pants. Naruto was quite surprised by this guy's condition. Zabuza's injuries were caused by himself, so he had to lie in bed for 10 days and a half. Right? Now that he looks like this, he is probably much better. Shiro noticed Naruto's confused look and took the initiative to explain. The injuries on Zabuza's body when he came back were from a medical ninja we found in a casino. She said that only 80 million taels can cure Mr. Zabuza's injury. Casino? Medical ninja? 80 million taels. Naruto and Kakashi, who noticed the element, had a slightly subtle expression. No need to think about it. This is definitely Tsunade, the gambling ghost in Konoha. When Naruto heard the price, he already covered his chest with his hands. Mud, this old woman with ponytails is too dark. If I had known earlier, I would have made the money myself. Then he thought of his own system of gold ingots, and he felt much better. But the girl Sakura discovered something different. She observed carefully for a while and found that Zabuza's legs and feet were not injured at all. Thinking of this, the girl leaned back and began to inhale sharply. The two of them won't. The image of Zabuza and Haku overlapping appeared in the girl's mind, and her outlook was shattered at this moment. Sakura looked at Zabuza and then at Shiro, only to feel her cheeks getting hot. But when she thought of Zabuza, a tall man of over 180 meters, bullying someone as tall as Shiro, she couldn't stand it for some reason. It's obvious that this man's injury is still not healed if I don't kill him. How can he be so impatient to deliver the dialogue? What a beast. Sakura couldn't stand it anymore and secretly walked up to Shiro. She planned to lecture this man who looked very much like a woman. That, by Adieu? Sakura pulled Shiro aside, hesitantly speaking, and made a thumbs-up gesture with her hands. Seeing this action, her face turned red as quickly as Sakura's. Me? Shiro's panicked look directly confirmed what Sakura had been thinking just now. I said, that guy is still injured, so you can't agree to his request. Sakura's voice suddenly became louder when she said this. She glanced at her teammates and found that they were looking at Zabuza, and then continued to look at Shiro. However, Sakura didn't know that her teammates were looking at Zabuza and eavesdropping on their conversation. Let me tell you, you should learn to say no to him. Bai lowered his head, not daring to look at the girl at all. At the same time, his hands were still holding the corners of his clothes and stirring them. It can be seen from the red ears that he is really shy. If you look at her appearance alone, she looks like a young girl in her prime. I will pay attention. And even if Mr. Zabuza is lying down, it won't affect his injuries. You are wrong to think so. What do you mean it won't affect the injury? You have to cherish yourself. Sakura looked like she hated the iron, and she didn't understand what this guy was thinking at all. It is enough to see from what Bai just said, etc. What does Zabuza lie down? Oh no, no way. The picture in Sakura's mind changed again, and then she felt her brain trembling. An extremely terrifying thought also appeared in her mind. After a full minute, she asked with some uncertainty, You just said Zabuza lies down, so you are gone? A few days ago, she had a general understanding of this kind of forbidden love through teacher Kakashi's popular science. Naturally, she knew what offense and acceptance were. Bai's face turned red with embarrassment, and he was stunned for a while before nodding, which was regarded as an answer to Sakura. Oh my god. After hearing this fact, Sakura covered her mouth and shouted, the pupils in her eyes still trembling from side to side. The girl was shocked twice by this forbidden love in just 3 minutes. She really couldn't imagine how Shiro, with a girlish appearance, could become an attacker, and how Zabuza, with a burly appearance, could become a sufferer. Gone. The Kirigakure male channel is really terrible. Not only Sakura was shocked, but Kakashi and Naruto next to her took a step back, still gasping for air. The innocent Sasuke said he didn't understand. He was currently wary of Zabuza, fearing that this guy would snatch his beloved Schwanzhong ruler. As for the two people on the side, their appearance was even more serious than Sakura's, and their eyes almost turned dark. Naruto felt that all the feelings he had towards the two of them in his previous life disappeared at this moment, and what followed was a tremor in his liver and gallbladder. Rough. Mr. Zabuza was poked by Shiro. Naruto thought about Shiro's attitude towards him before. He was already starting to get scared. Turning around and looking at Kakashi, Naruto, without saying a word, flashed up to Sakura, grabbed her by the back of the collar, and ran back. After returning to his teammates, he quickly threw out a few light gates, grabbed Sakura with one hand, and grabbed Sasuke, who was still looking at Zabuza affectionately with the other hand, and crawled into the light gates. But when it comes to speed, Kakashi is the fastest. Naruto yelled at Zabuza and Haku before leaving. Sorry, I suddenly remembered that the gas at home was not turned off, so I stopped eating. Farewell. If he didn't leave, Naruto would be really worried that he would be stabbed. Still eating? See you soon. Faced with the sudden disappearance of Team 7, Shiro and Zabuza were completely confused. After the two looked at each other for a few times, Zabuza spoke. You go get the food. I'll go in and fix the bed. Chapter 57 Kakashi. Go explain to my mother the 4 members of the 7th team passed through the light gate and returned to the camp again. Sakura stood there blankly, looking like she hadn't recovered from the shock just now. Naruto and Kakashi looked at each other and found each other sweating profusely, obviously frightened. Sasuke noticed something strange about his teammates and didn't understand why they reacted like this. What to attack, what to defend. Isn't it just training between two people? When he was training with Kakashi these days, he was still on the offensive side. I don't know what's so surprising. Fuss. I'm going to train. Sasuke left a message and headed to the training ground alone. When Sakura saw him leaving, she shook her head vigorously in an attempt to get rid of all the dirty things in her mind, and then chased him forward while shouting Sasuke's name. Kakashi glanced at Naruto and suddenly realized that something was wrong with this child. Logically speaking, a normal 12-year-old child would behave like Sasuke after hearing what Shiro just said. Even Sakura only understood this forbidden love through her own popular science. Then the problem comes. How on earth did this boy Naruto know? He must have peeked at something that is too young to see. Kakashi always felt that he should guide this child properly. Although he was not a good role model, he really didn't like Naruto to suffer from the same problem. Naruto, you must not violate the 3 ninja taboos. If you catch one, your life will be over. Naruto turned to look at Kakashi with a shocked expression. What on earth is this white-haired Zongden talking nonsense about? Don't you have any idea what you're like? Naruto now really wanted to press the little Liu Bei in Kakashi's ninja tool bag into his face. Bye. Kakashi-sensei, you should take care of yourself. At this point, Naruto looked Kakashi up and down a few times and then continued. Teacher Kakashi, you are still single at such an old age. You must have saved a lot of money, right? Kakashi opened his mouth, but couldn't say a complete sentence for a long time. He felt that Naruto had hurt him 3 times in just one sentence. What the hell is going on with this kid? Why have you always spoken so loudly since you were little? If this kid hadn't been able to use space ninjutsu, he would have definitely caught this kid and spanked him hard. Naruto noticed Kakashi standing still and smiled happily. However, he vaguely felt that Kakashi might want to deal with him. So he immediately threw a space door and ran away. Kakashi looked at Huang Mao appearing in the distance and sighed helplessly. He suddenly felt that Lord Jiraiya, there is really no guarantee that this child can be restrained. A few minutes later, Kakashi invited the 3 little ones to sit around him and prepared to arrange their next training plan. Sasuke, practice lightning style with me tomorrow, and I'll teach you a new ninjutsu. Sasuke, who was taking care of Shinjonji, nodded, excitement in his eyes. For some reason, he always felt that he was very close to cultivating 3,000 thunderbolts. After Kakashi finished speaking, he turned to look at the girl beside him, who was in a daze. Sakura, your current strength is still too weak. Tomorrow I will develop chakra control training specifically for you, and then teach you some genjutsu. When Kakashi said this, he subconsciously looked at the other 2 people. These 2 children were just as good as when they were born. When they were 7 years old, they were already dragging trees on the river for training. No more training on climbing trees and treading water is needed. After all, the chakra control training was completely messed up by them. Okay, I'll do my best. Sakura is well aware of the gap between herself and her teammates, so she is looking forward to the training plan mentioned by Kakashi. Maybe after completing training with Kakashi-sensei, you can catch up with him yourself. The girl put on an extremely serious expression and waved her pink fists twice to encourage herself in her heart. Come on, Haruno, Sakura, you are the best. When you become stronger, you can take care of Naruto. Just do it. After Kakashi and Sakura finished explaining, they turned to look at Naruto, who was looking forward to it, and were silent for a while. After thinking about it, he realized that he seemed to have nothing to teach Naruto. The chakra in Naruto is wind and earth. He does know a lot of these 2 types of escape techniques, but either to assist ninjutsu or to defend ninjutsu. For Naruto, it was better not to learn. As for physical skills, sorry, this kid doesn't need to learn taijutsu at all. He can just stand there and stab the enemy at each other while recovering his strength. There are few perverts like him in the entire ninja world. Naruto looked at Kakashi expectantly. You must know that this guy is a gold medal technician in Konoha. It is said that he copied all the enemy's ninjutsu. Oh my god, this is simply a living encyclopedia of ninjutsu, and being trained by Teacher Gio every day. Naruto really hoped to have a normal teacher to train him in a normal way. After all these years, Naruto finally understood the truth. The big fox in my belly basically trains myself in the same way as a tailed beast. If it weren't for his strong physique, he would have died due to Master Nine's high-tailed beast training method when he was 6 years old. So Naruto is now eager to see how normal people practice. At this time, Kurama, who was reading a novel in the sealed space, suddenly paused and then felt some malice from Naruto. Kid, are you being disrespectful to me? Hearing the big fox's voice, Naruto didn't know where to complain. How long has this vixen been watching for? Why'd you change eye to eye? No, just read your book. After giving the big fox a few casual words in his mind, Naruto looked at Kakashi expectantly again, and then heard a certain white-haired man say something inappropriate. Naruto, how about I teach you Earth Style? Earth Style Wall. Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto, who was still looking forward to it, immediately lost the smile on his face, and his expression became extremely stiff after hearing Kakashi's words. The mentality changed from the original expectation to anger. Mud, is this white-haired Zongen going too far? You teach Sakura Jinjutsu. You teach Sasuke Lightning Style. Now that you are here, you can teach me Earth Style, Tuiobi? If I want to learn this ninjutsu, why not learn your dog-headed version? I know you prefer Sasuke for your good gay friend Obito, but my dad is your teacher. White-haired Jongding, you are not a human being. Naruto put on a stiff smile, then politely raised his middle finger, shaking his head and pointing at him. Wait for me, you white-haired Pennsylvania. After saying that, Naruto stood up on the spot and walked to a position 10 meters away without looking back. Ninjutsu, who has white hair all over his body, uses the earth flow wall to deal with himself. Just wait for me. When I return to the village, I will learn how to reincarnate in dirty soil. When the time comes, go to your wife and explain. Since this guy doesn't want to cheat on himself, Lousy will do it himself. Seeing Naruto leave angrily, Kakashi laughed dryly and scratched the back of his head. It's not that he doesn't want to teach. There was really no ninjutsu in him that Naruto could use. Anyway, Kakashi thinks his own Earth Style is pretty good. Very personal. Chapter 58, the boomerang finally hits Naruto. Kakashi glanced at Naruto, who was sulking alone beside him. Without thinking much, he turned around and started teaching the two children beside him how to practice. At this moment, Naruto really hoped that Sasuke would open Mangeki, so that he could borrow contact lenses from his good friends to wear them, and then stare at a certain white-haired Zonga to death. Okay. If you don't play with me during practice, I'll play by myself. You must know that he has mastered the magical skill of multiple shadow clone. Ignoring the previous Uzumaki Ziggs accident, he can use multiple shadow clone to quickly accumulate experience. And now Teacher Gio is stuck in the quagmire of online writing and has no intention of teaching himself. Next, if you want to practice, you can only use multiple shadow clone livers. Naruto nodded firmly and prepared to form the seal to release ninjutsu. But for some reason, the image of Uzumaki Giggs asking him for AK and Laifu always flashed in his mind. No, impossible. This situation should be the exception. Yeah, I just created a clone. It's all an exception. An exception. Debanyo. Thinking of the appearance of his clone, it really made Naruto a little scared. He immediately comforted himself on the spot and then started to form seals. Multiple shadow clone techniques. Bang, 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 after the smoke circled around, 5 figures suddenly appeared around Naruto. After releasing ninjutsu, when Naruto saw his shadow clone, his eyes darkened, and he was frightened and uttered a national quintessence sentence on the spot. FK. Different from the imaginary shadow clone, these 5 clones wear strange costumes. The most outrageous thing is, among them was another one with grandma gray hair, wearing a black top, tight overalls, and holding a basketball in his hand. Rough. When will this Tamagotchi plague end? Standing next to him was a clone of a warrior with a high ponytail and a clone wearing a turban. These 2 guys, Naruto knew with his toes that they were cosplaying with Kyofone and Yasuo. Mud, this is the ninja world. Can your painting style not be so outrageous? After seeing these 2 guys with bad style, Naruto felt that the twin-tailed beautiful girl's clone and the black-framed and bearded man's clone were quite normal. At least they are still within the understandable range. Naruto rubbed his temples and felt his blood pressure rise instantly. What is the name of the medicine that the 3rd-generation old man takes? Naruto sighed, realizing that the Uzumaki Ziggs last time was not an accident. After taking a look at these clones, I thought it would be better to ask the names of these clones first. Tell me about it. What are your names? Brother Chicken over there. Can you stop playing ball when you are riding a horse? Naruto was really going to PES off his clone. Exhausted. In the future, We must let second generation see what these clones of ourselves are like. Upon hearing the main body's question, the four clones stepped forward at the same time and then began to announce their homes. Uzumaki Naruto, Uzumaki Yasuo, Uzumaki Kyo-Phone, Uzumaki Stark. Hello everyone. I've been practicing for 2.5 years. Get lost. Naruto was so angry that he activated the wind release and blood burst technique on the spot, flashed in front of this guy, and then kicked the Uzumaki chicken to pieces. Just now this guy was dancing and playing basketball on the side, but now he is still doing this. He really couldn't stand it. Uzumaki Naruto, want a shadow clone to help him gain experience. Don't do it. The main body of Xiao Ki. Uzumaki Naruto walked up to Naruto, raised her hand and patted his shoulder, saying comforting words. He looked up at Uzumaki Naruto's height of 1.7 meters, her beautiful face, and her long legs. She looks like a beautiful 18-year-old girl. Suffer. I was charmed by my own doppelganger. After looking at it twice, Naruto yelled that something was wrong and used Chiyo's swimsuit picture again in his mind to calm his mind. We're here to help you become stronger. After Uzumaki Naruto finished speaking, the three clones beside her nodded at the same time in agreement. But Naruto became even more confused when he heard this. You all have come up with such a fancy thing. Is there any good solution? Naruto considered himself a very capable person and did not believe a word of what his clone said. It wasn't long ago that you tricked Sasuke into becoming stronger by wearing women's clothing. You won't let yourself suffer this bitter pill now, right? Of course I can't let you wear women's clothes. Naruto. Uzumaki Naruto's words almost frightened Naruto into turning around and running away. No, how can you still read minds? There's no such thing as mind reading. I just know you very well. FK. Naruto was really shocked when he heard this. Don't scare me, otherwise I'm going to cancel Shadow Clone. Naruto turned his back and did not dare to look at the other person again, for fear that the clone would guess what he was thinking. Of course, he will not be charmed by his own clone. A mere 18-year-old beautiful girl with blonde hair and double ponytails and long legs. Not worth mentioning. At this time, Uzumaki Stark took out a paper and pen from nowhere, lowered his head and walked in front of Naruto, writing something on the paper while speaking. Next, I will help you as much as possible to research the module. Well, let's start with the most familiar ones. After he finished speaking, he motioned for Yasuo and Kyo-Phone to come forward. The main body, the Craftsman's Soul module, and the Sword Drawing module. You throw things out first, and I will study them. It's time for the ninja world to see the power of my hate swordsman. Yasuo Uzumaki just stepped forward and asked Naruto for something without saying a word. Since he didn't have a sword, he could only hold the air in his waist and make a gesture to draw the sword. Hasaki, for a swordsman, not having a sword is simply a lack of dignity. After finishing his work, Uzumaki Yasuo crossed his arms and found a tree to lean against, with a look of vicissitudes of life on his face. Although I have wandered around the world, I have never lost my true heart. Regardless of Yasuo Uzumaki's overly dramatic nature, the suggestion this guy just made Naruto's eyes light up. It sounds like something like that. You really deserve to be yourself. Reliable. At this time, Kyo-Phone on the side said seriously. The body, I'm not asking for much. Give me the whole high-powered sound system. When the time comes, I can carry this thing and dance with Madara. At this point, Uzumaki Kyo-Phone made a horse stance on the spot, and then began to wave his arms continuously on the spot. It looks like he imitated the 18 palms of the dragon, subduing the dragon in the TV series in his previous life. What troubles Naruto the most is, this guy is still dubbing himself. Ding 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 dash. No one can beat me in my BGM. Uzumaki Naruto. I knew it. This Whirlpool Kyo-Phone is not reliable at all. Chapter 59, it's broken. He really made it. Naruto held his forehead with one hand and resisted the thought of FG Uzumaki Kyo-Phone to death. After marking an area on the spot, he began to throw out system props under the arrangement of the Whirlpool Stark. Kakashi, who was instructing the other two people, glanced in Naruto's direction and stopped what he was doing in shock. Naruto's shadow clone in fancy clothes almost made him doubt his life. What is this kid doing? Why can he always come up with something different for himself? Besides, whose shadow clone is like this? Thinking of the previous clone with a white cloth on his head, Kakashi could only lament that Naruto was having more and more fun now. Especially the double ponytail clone. Kakashi's whole body became stiff when he saw it. Confirmed. This kid Naruto definitely peeked at something he shouldn't have seen behind his back. Otherwise, it is really impossible to transform into this kind of clone. Kakashi-sensei. The girl Sakura looked at Kakashi looking like a crazy guy, making strange noises from time to time, and her face turned red with anger. I just started teaching myself Jinjutsu. Not even halfway through, he started laughing in Naruto's direction. Sakura suddenly felt very tired. Although it's fun to be with Sasuke, to be honest, Sakura seriously doubted that she was the only normal person in the team. Looking in the direction of Kakashi, when she saw the beautiful blonde girl, Sakura was instantly petrified on the spot. Sasuke, who was discharging electricity, noticed that the two men's expressions were not right and looked at Naruto, and then subconsciously said, "So big." After saying that, he couldn't control his eyes and glanced at Sakura. Kakashi nodded in agreement with Sasuke's words. Really, only a man understands a man's heart. Sasuke's words were like a whisper from Galen, which silenced Sakura and broke her guard. The girl's fragile heart was also hit hard at this moment. What are you talking about? Why did that Naruto guy turn into such a sexy clone? After experiencing the forbidden love between Shiro and Zabuza, Sakura was completely wary of Naruto. But who would have thought that this guy would create such a clone? The most important thing is, Sasuke actually spoke just now. This has never happened to her since she met Sasuke. Although she had previously discovered that Sasuke was wearing women's clothing, this could not affect his image in her heart. But isn't it a bit too much for Sasuke to shout it's so big when he looks at Naruto's clone? Sakura looked at the blonde girl from a distance and almost cried. Sasuke, Kakashi-sensei, I promise to practice. The girl's violent drinking finally brought the two of them back to their senses. Kakashi touched his chin with an expression of afterthought. After Sasuke took a second look, he turned around and continued to discharge. He didn't dare to continue reading, for fear that he would ruin his practice. No way. Who made Naruto's clone look so awesome? Although Sasuke looks stupid, he actually understands the things between men and women. Of course, he was still confused a few days ago. Ever since Naruto gave him the novel, Sasuke's mentality has changed a little. However, Sasuke believes that the most important thing at this stage is to improve the power of Nin so that he can kill the man with his own hands. When Sakura saw the two men looking like they were still unfinished, she fell into self-doubt. If she hadn't been unable to defeat Naruto, she would have really wanted to die with that guy now. Think carefully. If this guy really attacks Sasuke, she seems to have no chance of winning. No, be sure to have a good chat with Hinata after returning to the village. Sakura felt that Naruto couldn't solve it, so she had to ask Hyuga Hinata for help. Hinata probably doesn't want the man she likes to be with Sasuke. After she recovered, Kakashi taught her the Genjutsu practice method, and then asked Sasuke to take her up the tree. As for Kakashi, he ran to the treetop again and took out Xiao Lubei to watch. I was about to give up, but I just took a few glances at Naruto's clones, and he really couldn't control his hands. Kakashi, who was leaning on the tree, looked around to make sure no one was looking in his direction, and then he took out Intimate Paradise. In the process of taking out the book, Kakashi felt an inexplicable feeling of guilt in his heart. Well, I'll finish reading today and start quitting tomorrow. On the other side, the Uzumaki team finally came up with a weapon Yasuo Uzumaki wanted under the team's intellectual responsibility. Body, do you think I have a knife in my mouth? Uzumaki Yasuo chuckled and placed the blue light sword in Naruto's hand. After weighing it twice, Naruto couldn't help but whisper, "This sword is the most powerful weapon in the world." The sword peak is 3 feet and 7 inches, and its net weight is 7 kilograms and 13 taels. This is a peerless sword. Yasuo Uzumaki. Uzumaki Naruto. Vortex Dark. You've had enough, body. Just now you were complaining about me, Uzumaki Kyo phone, and now you're acting like Uzumaki Fubuki? Uzumaki Kyo phone couldn't help but complain, and even Uzumaki Stark echoed. Speechless. None of the data you mentioned match up. Child, science is about rigor. Naruto ignored the two clones, waved it gently twice, then raised it high and looked at the sword up and down. Sheathless blade. Attack. 100 sharp, 3 durability, 3 soul binding. Uzumaki Naruto / Uzumaki Yasuo. Skills. Way of the Drifter, Steel Flash. Wind Barrier, Step Forward and Severe Wind Slash. Naruto was shocked when he saw the data of this sword. The additional attributes are quite satisfactory, but how did you master this skill? Broken. Uzumaki Yasuo really wants to be the hate swordsman in the ninja world. Naruto threw the knife to Uzumaki Yasuo, and then looked at Uzumaki Stark with doubtful eyes, wanted to hear what his clone had to say. Nothing surprising. You also know that things in the system will adapt to the rules of this world after they're taken out. Is it reasonable for me to add some wind release chakra to forge skills? But you have to be careful when using these weapons. Before Uzumaki Stark could say anything, he heard Yasuo Uzumaki beside him screaming, "Death is like the wind, always with me." Then I saw Uzumaki Yasuo lowering his body, holding the handle of the knife with his right hand, first throwing out a small hurricane to blow up the Uzumaki Kyo phone, and then appeared in the air in a flash. Solely, it hurts Uzumaki Yasuo you. Wait for me to play BGM if you have the ability. Bang bang the moment the two clones came into contact in the air, they instantly turned into 2 puffs of smoke and disappeared. The newly crafted sheathless blade also fell from the air to the ground. Uzumaki Stark pointed to the knife on the ground, shrugged and said, "Well, you don't have enough physical strength to use these weapons." He would just be like them and die suddenly on the spot. Naruto was stunned for a moment, feeling frightened in his heart. Fortunately, he didn't take out the sword of world domination to play with on a whim. Otherwise, he might have been torn to pieces by the power of the sword on the spot. Can it be solved by eating? Naruto also felt a little guilty when he said this. When he was a child, he mostly ate those abnormal amplifying foods in the sealed space. Anyway, it was a creative mode that ate undead people. But if you want to take it out, he is really afraid of eating himself to death by eating those abnormal amplifying foods. It is similar to the situation of taking the Mahayana pill during the foundation building stage. After all, he is just an ordinary 9-tails Jinchuriki, not a square man who can stand up to the gods. You'll know if you try it. Uzumaki Naruto reached out to him and licked her lips playfully, with tears in her eyes, as if begging for food. Naruto's face turned red immediately. Chapter 60 Kakashi. I'll just take one bite and it won't die, right? Naruto took out the universal meatball directly from the system space. Under the influence of external rules, Naruto's hand holding the meatball suddenly sank, almost as if he had dropped the dog and chewed the mud. Even the ground cracked under the weight. You must know that when this thing is in the sealed space, there is no feeling at all when holding it. Now that he took it out, he could feel the weight of the world meatballs. If it had been Sasuke, the weakling, he would have fallen to the ground on the spot. Naruto's thoughts suddenly became divergent. According to this situation, I won't be short of weight-bearing equipment in the future. I could just bring the Huanyu meatballs for training. I just don't know if this thing has a shelf life outside of it. Naruto raised his hand and lightly threw the world meatball to Uzumaki Naruto. If he hadn't looked at the cracked ground under his feet, he might have thought it was just an ordinary strange food that shone in a dark green color. Uzumaki Naruto took the universal meatball, her body also sank, and the smile on her face disappeared instantly. Ontology, are you even eating to your own clone? There was a bit of anger in her tone, and she rolled her eyes at Naruto. Beautiful girls are a little more lethal. When Naruto saw the other party's appearance, he immediately turned to look at the Whirlpool Stark on the side. Correct. How can I change you out next time I use multiple shadow clone? He finally understands. My multiple shadow clone must have been practiced incorrectly. Maybe this is a side effect of multiple shadow clone? Second generation, I understand. No wonder multiple shadow clone is called a forbidden technique. However, What Naruto is more worried about is that the next time he uses multiple shadow clone, he will turn into an unreliable shadow clone like Uzumaki Chicken. So far, Naruto Uzumaki and Stark Uzumaki are reliable. Just keep in mind what we look like, as long as you don't have random thoughts in your mind when using multiple shadow clone. Usually there won't be any weird clones. Uzumaki Naruto explained, then raised the universal meatball in her hand and started looking around. Naruto pursed his lips when he heard what she said. Okay. Do I blame myself for co-writing those unreliable shadow clone? Naruto only planned to half-believe Uzumaki Naruto's words. He admitted that he had been secretly thinking about Chicken Brother in his mind just now. But I will never admit to secretly thinking about dressing up as a woman in my mind. The main body, I want to eat it. At this time, Uzumaki Naruto swallowed the world's meatballs in one gulp. The next second, Naruto noticed that Uzumaki Naruto's face turned red. How about it? Will anything happen if you eat this? Uzumaki Naruto swung her twin ponytails and shook her head first.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.